It being 8 o'clock on June 9th, 2025, I call the town meeting to order. Some of the things to note. One, if you're seeking recognition during the meeting, please go to one of the microphones. When I call on you or point to you, offer your name and address for the record. Please only speak to the article in the motion that is on the floor. We can't go backwards, we can't go forwards. We're speaking to what's on the floor to keep business moving along. And you can't introduce a topic that isn't in the warrant at all in any way, shape, or form. Please silence your cell phones if you haven't done that already. And Mr. O'Leary, motion to admit.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you to everybody who showed up tonight. We have a lot of business to transact. Hopefully we can transact the business quickly this evening, get through the whole thing. If not, we'll be back tomorrow night. But thank you again for coming out tonight and participating in our town meeting. Mr. Moderator, I move that the following non-registered voters or visitors be admitted to the meeting. Rob Carbone, NORCAM, Freedom of the Floor. Maureen Doherty, North Reading Transcript, Freedom of the Floor. And further, that the following non-registered voters be admitted to the meeting and permitted to sit with the officials and departments they serve. Susan Duplin, Town Clerk. Stephanie Conley, Assistant Town Clerk. Delaney Sharkey, Staff. Danielle McKnight, Town Planner. Patrick Daly, Superintendent of Schools. Darren Klein, KP Law Town Council. John Eichman, KP Law Town Council. And further, nope. And further, that in the event of an overflow, non-registered voters be allowed to remain in the CAF. Sean McPeak, Travis McKenzie, Matt Cooper, Brian Carter, Lillian Hartman, Harold Miller, Marianne McKay, Jerry Noel, Eleanor Richard, Debbie Carboni, Carla Lister, Michael Conley, Joseph Parisi, Samuel Messina, Anthony Spina, Tyler Hickson, Elizabeth Lawrenson, Robert Collins, Nicole Montana, Colleen Yun Kusan, Mark Zimmerman, Jack Vasquez, Matt Prince, Jason Smith, Addison Santos, Fabiano Santos, Brianna Santos, Ariana Santos, Todd Wokel, Lydia Eldridge, Kathy Horicelli, Janine Shipley, Mark Shipley, and Lindsay Burns.
We have a motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Some of the rest of the business, all the registered voters are wearing blue or baby blue ribbons, and department heads and other guests who are coming into the meeting now are wearing black visitor badges. I'm not going to use the clickers on this article. All those in favor of admitting, please say aye. Opposed? Mr. O'Leary, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Moderator, I move to dispense with the reading of the warrant and refer to the articles by number, and further to dispense with the reading of the return of service by the constable.
On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Moderator, I move to recess the regular town meeting until conclusion of the special town meeting, North Reading High School, Park Street. You want me to explain?
On the motion, Mr.
Okay, on the motion.
Mr. O'Leary.
What we have this evening, if you recall, looking in your warrant, we have a special town meeting. Within the town meeting, there's one article to consider. It will be brief, I can assure you. This has to do with 97 Main Street. We, the last minute, in the last month or so, had an opportunity to, potentially had an opportunity that we needed to take advantage of to have a special town meeting. So we had it included to be at 7:05 in the regular town meeting. So we're going to dispense with that, take care of it, and then go right back into Article 1 of the regular town meeting. So we would recommend that you vote in favor of recessing the town meeting. We'll get to that.
All those in favor of a recess, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion, Mr. O'Leary. I open the special town meeting at 8:10, June 9th.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move to dispense with the reading of the warrant and to refer to the articles by number, and further to dispense with the reading of the return of service by the constable.
We have the motion. Recommendation from the Board of Selectmen.
This is on to dispense with the reading. We're in favor.
Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries.
Mr. Moderator, Article 1.
Motion, Mr. O'Leary.
Article 1, Acquisition and Appropriation 97 Main Street. I move to pass over Article 1 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends passing over.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends passing over.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
No. Mr. Moderator, just as an explanation.
Yeah.
Again, as we mentioned just a few minutes ago, we had requested a special town meeting warrant article for consideration of the potential purchase of 97 Main Street. That's the old Stop and Shop where Ocean State Job Lot is, about 22 acres worth of land. Stop and Shop had put it up for sale. We have been discussing the potential of the town of North Reading purchasing that property with Stop and Shop, but it does not appear that it's going to be coming to fruition. It appears that Stop and Shop has opted to sell the property to somebody else. That being said, we have no idea at this particular point in time what the intended use is, who the purchaser is. They have not shared that information with us yet. The article that was going to be presented before you would provide us to pay for it, either by cash or by borrowing or by eminent domain taping. So what we want to inform you is that until we hear exactly what's being proposed there, we don't know what's going to happen. So we're in a reactionary mode here. What we were trying to do was secure this property because to us it was a keystone to any redevelopment out on Route 28. We thought that if we took control of the property, we could have some have some say as to what's going to happen rather than reacting to developers' plans. That did not come to fruition. We do not have that opportunity. But we do have an opportunity once we find out what the intended purpose and use is going to be. If it's something that seems as though we can live with and want to work with them, that's terrific. We hope so. But until we find out, we want to retain our options to come back to you at town meeting with another article, either at a special town meeting or in October for acquisition, potentially through eminent domain. That being said, we have no further information from Stop and Shop as to who the purchaser is or what the intended use is. So with that being said, we're moving to pass over right now and potentially come back to it at a later date.
Further discussion. Mr. Yule.
Yes, Jeff Yule, good. Jeff Yule, 427 Park Street. Does not a first right of refusal come into play here, or does that come later on?
I'm sorry? What was it?
First right of refusal by the town
There was no first right of refusal
on this property?
on this property. No, it's a private transaction.
Okay,
Again, the only time we have a first right of refusal is if it was for farming purposes. Then we would have the first right of refusal because they get an exemption on that. This is just an arm's length transaction between two interested parties.
thank you.
By the way, we had hoped for a right of first refusal, but we didn't get that.
Further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Moderator, I move to adjourn this meeting sine die.
On the motion to adjourn the special town meeting, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Moderator, Article 1, Citizens Petition to amend the code zoning bylaws, establishment of a Lowell Road multifamily zoning overlay district. Mr. Moderator, I move to approve Article 1 as printed in the warrant.
Select Board recommends 3-2.
Finance Committee?
Finance Committee recommends.
CPC? If you couldn't hear that, Planning Board 4-1.
The Select Board recommends 3-1, 4-1. Planning Board recommends 4-1.
Mr. O'Leary?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think it's important for me to explain why I put forth these articles for consideration. First of all, a lot has changed since last October. These three articles, and if I may take the liberty, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moderator, just to talk about the three articles because they're all conjoined here, are identical to the three that were proposed last October with minor exceptions on Article 1. Article 1 includes two modifications. One is to ensure that the 55-plus age restriction is memorialized in the zoning bylaw by right for the owners. And the other one is to cap the number of units at 908 units in this particular overlay district, which is the exact same number as to what's there today. So no more units would be, can be built there. But again, what's changed since October? Last October, there were some very legitimate questions that were raised by residents across the entire community, particularly the legal aspect of it. There was a pending case. The town of Milton was sued by the Attorney General for not being in compliance with the MBTA zoning law, and that was not settled yet. So that was a big question in many people's minds as to what the outcome of that was going to be. The other question was whether or not we could legitimately protect the 55-plus age restriction at Martin's Landing. There isn't anybody in this community that wasn't concerned about that, including all the boards up front here and all the people out here, even back as far as last June when this first came up. The biggest concern, the number one concern there was, again, from all across the community, can we protect the 55-plus? The other was home rule. Was this law a violation of the home rule laws on the books in self-determination? The number of units, there was concern as to whether or not these units could be subdivided, move families in here, make more units out of the ones that were already existing, never mind building more units. And again, selling to families in the over 55 community that people didn't meet the age restriction. And again, was there going to be an MBTA bus stop and an expansion of services? All those questions have been answered since October. All of them, unequivocally. In January, the Supreme Judicial Court, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, took on the Milton case and made a determination that the law is the law and it must be complied with. Milton lost. So that ended the question as to whether or not, the legal question as to whether it was legitimate, whether there was any means to not come into compliance. Now in February, as a result of that determination, the town of North Reading had to file an action plan by like the 12th of February. And the select board had to instruct the town administrator whether to sign one or not. The select board voted on a 3-2 vote to have the town administrator file an action plan, meaning that we would attempt to come into compliance by the July deadline. Again, as a result of that January decision, the deadline was moved forward to instead of December 31st of last year, moved forward until mid-July. So we voted to have the town administrator file an action plan. It was then incumbent upon us to come up with a plan to present to you to come into compliance. That didn't exactly occur in the order that it should have. The Planning Commission determined at the time that they didn't wish to put forth any consideration, any specific plan at that particular point in time. The Select Board believed that the Planning Commission was the appropriate body to do so, and time was marching on, and a filing deadline for this warrant was closing around March 16th or thereabouts, on a Monday. So the weekend before, due to the lack of action, I decided it was important to provide you, all of us, an opportunity to come into compliance. Because if we hadn't put an article forward, we wouldn't be in compliance. All the penalties associated with that would come down to bear on us, and it wouldn't be, I didn't think it was fair. You deserve an opportunity to vote one more time here whether or not you want to comply. It's up to you. It's not up to us. So anyway, fast forward a little bit. As it progressed, the Planning Commission, in their wisdom, and rightfully so, had public hearings on this proposal and even another proposal that they were considering at the time to determine whether or not they wanted to come into compliance and whether or not they wanted to support it. So as it turns out, last October they were not in favor of it. This March, this May, they voted to support it 4-1. Planning Commission is in favor of these petitions. The Select Board, 3-2, is in favor of the petitions. The Finance Committee unanimously in favor of these petitions. So a lot has changed. We have a lot more information. So I don't want to bore with all the details because most of us sat through this before. But the 55 plus, the language in what I proposed here covers it. It allows by right to protect the owner's interest, which is in conformity with state law. What the zoning law says that was passed is that the town cannot restrict by age. The town cannot restrict for affordability. The town can't restrict for certain reasons. What it doesn't say, and what state law or state cases have proven, is that the owners retain that right. What the legislation does is it provides home rule. So let's get back to home rule. You decide where this overlay district is going to be. Nobody else, not the town, not the state, we do.
Steve,
If we don't,
if I may, time.
Oh, okay, let me just wrap up that again. So if we don't comply now, someone else is gonna come in and determine. We're going to get sued, the Attorney General will sue us, the courts will take over, appoint a master, and home rule is gone. Someone else will determine where this overlay district goes. So I'll leave it with this, that the town administrator, town planner have all the information. This is her hard work, not mine. All I did was cut and paste. She put 4 years into this, and I think she deserves to be heard. And thank you, Mr. Moderator. I yield.
Ms. Knight and Mr. Gilberto have a presentation. I understand you want a short leave of the meeting.
Yes, Mr. Moderator, through you, we would request a 10-minute leave of the meeting for a presentation.
We'll use the clickers. 10-minute leave of the meeting. If you want to allow their presentation, vote yes. Don't want a presentation, vote no. Would they please open? It's about Article 1, 2, and 3.
Is the voting open?
Did he open it? Okay. Open the meeting. It's open.
They don't, yeah, they won't show up. Do you think we take this off? No. Pass it? I feel like that's going to be a problem. What do you think? You think it's less than? I don't want to.
I'm going to close the voting. Mr. Gilberto, you have leave of the meeting with a yes vote of 447.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So I'm going to turn it over to the town planner who will start the presentation and we'll go back and forth.
Thank you. The housing choice legislation was signed into law in January of 2021. Guidelines were issued in 22, and the Attorney General confirmed communities were mandated to comply in March of 23. A new Section 3A of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, the Zoning Act, requires communities in the MBTA service area to allow multifamily zoning by right in a district of a suitable size, density, and location. The state issued guidelines specifying the size, the location, the unit capacity, and the density of the required districts for each town. Next slide, please. The proposed district is 100 and 104 Lowell Road. The zoning district must be at least 50 acres. This site is 80 acres. It must allow multifamily housing by right, which is already allowed. Minimum gross density would be 15 units to the acre. Capacity in the zoning needs to allow for at least 750 units. The current permitted capacity is 908 units. The focus of the law is on what zoning allows, not what will be built. There's no production requirement and no infrastructure requirement. Land needs to be developable to count toward the capacity calculation. For example, the calculation may not include flood zone, water, wetlands, public lands, etc. The zoning can't restrict age or number of bedrooms. Zoning does not restrict Martin's Landing. This development is 55 plus by choice and would remain so as that is unrelated to zoning. Zoning can't restrict age, but individual projects may restrict age at the owner's discretion. Private properties that are rezoned remain in private ownership and under private control as they are now. Next slide, please. As a comparison, what is now permitted and under construction versus what would be proposed by right as a change to the overlay, the new 3A zoning. Currently allowed is a mix of 4 and 5 story buildings. Proposed would be 4.5 story buildings. The maximum height would remain at 60 feet. 908 units is what has been permitted. 908 units would be the proposed cap on this development. Currently, there is greater than 15% impervious surface on the site due to previous special exceptions given in the earlier permitting for the site. The by right zoning would be 15% or less impervious zoning by right. Currently, there is less than 85% open space, also due to special permissions, because this is a site that is subject to an Aquifer Protection District special permit. The proposed zoning requires 85% or more open space if developed by right. Explanation of the unit capacity. The state requires a so-called unit capacity for the district of 750 units, and this does not mean 750 units would be added to the existing district. The state requires us to go through a model calculation to see what a total future development could yield under as-of-right zoning. And this figure is an estimate. It's based on formulas provided by the state. And under the proposed zoning, that expected yield for future redevelopment would be similar or less than what is currently existing and also what is currently under construction, the 908 units. There's no expectation, nor would there be room in the proposed district for an additional 750 units. The proposed by right zoning would not allow for this. Calculations include 85% open space as mentioned for this site due to Aquifer Protection District limitations on impervious surface. This is in essence a restriction on building outward from a footprint. An explanation of the zoning and rezoning. The subject properties are currently in an underlying zoning district of industrial office with a multifamily overlay. There are numerous possible uses allowed as of right currently by the current zoning, including office, retail, and manufacturing. Town meeting can rezone a property an unlimited number of times. These are properties that have been rezoned numerous times with additional overlays. The zoning does not change the ownership or the control of the sites. Site plan review by the CPC would still be done on new and any changed buildings in the same manner as required now. Zoning establishes districts on a map, and then the zoning bylaw describes what is allowed by right, what is allowed by special permit, and what is prohibited. Every property has an underlying zoning district. That establishes what is allowed by right, what is not allowed by right, and what is allowed by special permit. Many properties also have overlay districts. An overlay district can be more restrictive. For example, the floodplain district, which limits development. Overlay districts can be more permissive, allowing additional uses or extra dimensional allowances that are not otherwise allowed by the underlying zoning. In the case of 104 and 100 Lowell Road, the underlying zoning district is industrial office. It allows light manufacturing, office parks, retail, restaurants, and many professional services, and it prohibits all housing. But it has several overlay districts, zoning overlay districts on it, including the Aquifer Protection District, which limits impervious area and chemical storage, the floodplain district on a portion, which limits development and triggers extra permitting requirements, the multifamily overlay district, which allows for by right apartments and condos, which is otherwise prohibited in the underlying IO. That was how Martin's Landing was built. And 100 Lowell Road also has the 40R Berry Center Smart Growth Overlay District, and that also allows by right multifamily housing under certain criteria and has an affordable housing requirement too. Restrictive overlay districts always apply. All development must comply with APD and floodplain districts. Underlying zoning also applies, but where there are exceptions allowed by an overlay, a developer may choose which to follow. Lowell Road properties could have been developed commercially under IO or residentially using the zoning overlay districts. The zoning bylaws are a list of restrictions and allowances that are not related to ownership. Zoning determines what a property owner may or may not do, but does not give outside parties rights, including local or state government. Properties may only be developed or changed at the initiative of owners and with their permission. 3A is a set of zoning requirements. Towns are asked to identify a district that meets certain criteria set by the state. This can be an existing district that already complies, or one that is newly created just to comply with this law, or a district that nearly complies that needs changes to fully comply. Identification as a 3A compliant district does not change ownership rights. As with all zoning, 3A compliant zoning may be utilized by owners as they deem appropriate. Making 100 and 104 Lowell Road 3A compliant involves changing the zoning to expand what owners may choose to do. 3A is not associated with eminent domain takings or other interference with property rights. As far as noncompliance, I'll pass that to the administrator.
Sure, this slide should look familiar to folks from an advisory in 2023. We lose eligibility for funding from a variety of programs. Compliance is considered when they're evaluating grant applications under other programs and may influence decisions by various state agencies. We previously received grants from the programs which the town would no longer be eligible for, including a $3 million grant for water system upgrades from MassWorks and $200,000 for sewer design and permitting. We've previously received grants from programs as well, such as the Mass Downtown Initiative, Municipal Vulnerability Program, and Potential Housing Authority funds as well. So this just shows you a list of all the programs from which the town would otherwise be eligible if we were in compliance. It doesn't include programs that we would not be eligible for because of our income and poverty level rates. You see a variety of programs listed there. The bottom line is this fiscal year, $990,000 coming in from the state. We are annually receiving approximately $850,000 from a variety of funding sources, ranging from fire department to cultural council, our library, and a variety of other programs. Some sample grant contract language, which highlights just what's up there. The state is requiring MBTA community compliance in a variety of grants. That's excerpted directly from a state contract. I'm not going to leave it up for too long because I'm running out of time. These are some frequently discussed items and concerns, namely the 55+ age restriction and its impact on Martin's Landing. No new units required to be built. Proposed zoning would expand the owner's rights to make it permissible to build additional height, but that would rest with the owners to decide. Does not give the state special authority over the parcels. Will not bring MBTA service to North Reading. And there are a variety of factors that would limit development, including the rights of the property owners, wastewater treatment, the various zoning impacts that Danielle identified as well, which will all remain in place. Again, the proposed zoning would allow for additional stories, but also caps the total number of units to what is already permitted, so no new units could be built. Capped at 908 units. The cap was not approved. The decision would be based on the property owner's desires to continue to expand. An estimated 24 units at Martin's Landing and 204 units at Edgewood. At Edgewood, they'd be required to add floors to the buildings. In the case of Edgewood, add elevators to buildings that don't currently have them. Why these parcels? They've already been developed as multifamily housing, reflecting our priority for affordable and senior housing options. It's believed that the owners would not want to redevelop the parcels in the near future, and approving would modify existing zoning, which is approved by town meeting, to comply with what is now state law. It was a challenge. The town of Milton, I think most people in the room are familiar with it. The court affirmed that the law is valid and the state may take action to require compliance. Again, this is an excerpt from the age restriction guidelines. We are not allowed to require an age restriction in the parcel, but it does not prohibit age restrictions from being in place, and I think that was referenced by Mr. O'Leary earlier. How am I, Mr. Moderator? At 0, okay. I think we got through most of it, Mr. Moderator.
Is there something you missed that you need to wrap up with?
I think the summary puts it up there, so I'm good with that.
Okay. So further discussion on Article 1. Does CPC want to give a report?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just a brief explanation. Oh, okay. Okay. All right, I got it now, thanks. Just sort of quick understanding about the CPC vote. We did vote in the very beginning 4-1 against it. And that was because we didn't think it had been fleshed out all the way. We thought there was a lot more to be said and a lot more information to be found out. So after the Superior Court decision, we knew that we were on the right path. We learned a lot over the time. We had a lot of questions from the town and from other boards, and we brought those all to town council and got our information. After a while, we finally put the whole thing together and realized that we were not going to be hurting anybody. I don't think anybody in the board would have any interest in this if we thought we were hurting Martin's Landing in any way. So we determined that that wasn't going to happen, and that basically that we were going to be forced into compliance eventually. The best thing to do is to make the best of it. Mr. Leary's amendments also give a little more understanding to it and a little more of a guarantee, assuming they leave them in there, that we can that we would not damage any of the contracts that exist at Martin's Landing. And so it is law, and it does need to be complied with. And for the record, breaking the law is not a strategy. It doesn't get you anywhere, and except it gets you in trouble. So, it seems to me that if you don't like this law, then the thing to do is we're going to have to be in compliance. So get in compliance, and then let's, if we really want to fight about it, let's get our elected officials that are in the state Senate and give them, write some letters, do a little communication with them, give them something to take back to their respective groups and say, this is something that we don't care for, and we think we're being treated unfairly. And that would be the way to do it. So if they don't, if they bring this all back to their constituents, then or back to their to the Senate and so forth, they I think that would be a way of getting it to move forward. Because if they don't respond to us, if we all sent them a letter, or if we all sent them a phone call and everything and told them they were unhappy with this, and they took it back and didn't get any answers, the next step is the ballot box. And that's really the proper way to handle this, not by disobeying it. So I encourage you all to vote in favor of this. I've heard a lot of people say over the time that nobody's in favor of this law. Well, if that were the case, then why wouldn't the legislature, the legislators that work for all these other communities not go back and tell the legislature that they don't like it? If they're not doing that, then they're not perhaps bringing the will of the people. But if they cannot get the votes to change it or give us some kind of relief, then it means that the majority of the people do like this law and do think that housing is important and do think that we need to move forward on it. So I encourage you to support this. I think it's the right step at this point, and if we need to go further with it, we will. Thank you.
So,
Good evening. My name is Rick Bowden, 12 Freedom Drive. I want to make sure everyone in the back rows can hear me. That's what I thought. Thank you. I usually don't even need a mic. But I do want to ask a question of someone, and I'm not sure who to address it to. The word unit and units have been used regularly, and it sounds like the owners of the property have the ability to make the decision. Is the zoning going to include condos and or apartments, or are they going to be exclusive one or the other?
Ms. Knight. Top one.
Thank you.
You can't get there?
I didn't want to point out the obvious, but yeah.
So zoning, oh, that's not on. Hello? No. Hello? Oh, boy.
See if it got turned off.
Oh, no.
While they're making an adjustment, the reason I'm asking is because it obviously would have a huge impact whether they're all apartments, all individually owned units, condos, in the tax roll.
Yes, I understand your question. question. Zoning does not allow us to distinguish between rental or ownership units.
May I have a follow-up question addressed to the same
Yes.
person? Thank you. So I want to be very clear about this before we vote on anything. That means that the owners or owner or the trust, whatever the entity is that owns the property, who will be developing it, will decide whether they will be condos and/or apartments, or they could be either exclusive of the other.
So yes, that is a possibility under the proposed zoning, and it's also a possibility under current zoning because zoning does not differentiate in any way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. O'Leary.
Just as clarification, in this particular specific case, there are two parcels here, right? One is Edgewood, okay, which has one owner. That's the apartment building, 406 units. The other one is, when it's all completed, will be 502 individual owners of condominiums who collectively have an HOA and have to decide as owners collectively what they want to do there. So it's one owner at Edgewood, but Martin's Landing is 502, so that they would have to collectively get together and decide that they're going to change the use of the property. Does that help, Rick?
Mr. Yule.
Yes, I'd like to ask for a leave of the meeting for 10 minutes
For,
to present a different perspective on Article 1.
whoa. No. All right. We'll do the same thing. We'll take the vote. We'll use the clickers. This vote is not on the article. This vote is for leave of the meeting for 10 minutes for the purposes of a presentation. Okay? All right. So get ready to vote, because in a couple seconds I'm going to say voting is open. Oh.
Your vote is, you want to give leave of the meeting, you vote yes.
Yeah, if you want the presentation, you vote yes. If you don't, you vote no. I'm going to close the voting.
I didn't even know.
Mr. Yule, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. This is a sad day in North Reading. I think that when you talk about fairness, they don't believe in fairness, obviously. They only know about themselves, and I don't mean to be degrading to them, but they do that themselves. I'm a member of the Committee to Save Our Town, and we're a bipartisan group of concerned North Reading property owners and voters. We went through the whole process. We did the same work that the CPC did. We did the same work that the Select Board did. And we came up with a different result. I respect their decisions, but I wish they would respect ours. And that's unfortunate that they do not. I think that it's important to say that, excuse me, okay. On February 23, 2024, the Executive Office of Housing, and livable communities, wrote this letter to the town. I'm quoting part of it. While ELOC appreciates the work, all the hard work that the town of North Reading, a housing choice community, we encourage the town to reconsider its strategy for compliance with Section 3A by proposing a district location where it will be possible to develop new, as of right, multi-family housing. This proposal by Steve O'Leary and by the Select Board, approved by CPC, does not do that. Not at all. Okay? So the state and HELOC will do one thing. They will say yes, just to get the town to vote for it. And then when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, they're going to say, you know what? This is not, this is not fitting in our goal and our vision and our mission. So that by itself says that we shouldn't be voting for this. So I'm going to thank you for that and just leave it at that.
Dick Matolo, Martin's Landing. Last year, when North Reading offered Martin's Landing and Edgewood, the state... Too loud?
Try again, Dick. Try again.
How's that?
Here we go.
The state said it would accept our multi-family district proposal, but it did not like it. Now, no other town has used a 55-plus community in their overlay district. As far as, and I've reached out to, the EOHCL and Bruce Tarr's office, and nobody's come up with any information. So we're the only ones that have done that. With all due respect, the state said North Reading's proposal is flawed. That means it will have to be modified to fully comply with the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities mandates to be eligible for these grants you're concerned about. That also may mean more articles in the future town meetings and continuing legal bills. This is not a one and done, nothing will change and move on as we are being told. If the 503 unit owners at Martin's Landing are adversely affected, more lawsuits are a real possibility. I hate to say this, but it is apparent that NIMBY is a factor here. The planning board intended to keep the high-density MBTA district in the outskirts of town, in the industrial area, and away from the nicer neighborhoods. Article 1 is totally unfair to Martin's Landing. Everyone here this evening will be 55 someday. You will have raised your family and supported your community for many years. We all deserve and should have the right to choose a mixed community or a over 55 that's not encumbered or tainted for your later years. Thank you. Please vote no, and tell our town officials to follow the law and the guidelines and do it the right way.
Sir.
Yeah, Matthew Page, 1 Peabody Street. It is almost 9 o'clock. We have a lot of business to get through. I would like us to move to the question, please. We've heard from the vote no side. We don't need to keep hearing from this. Everyone's had a lot of information on this issue. We just need to now move ahead and vote and get on with our business. We have a lot to do tonight.
The vote on the floor is to move to the question. Motion's on the floor. We'll do it with the clickers. All those in favor of moving to the question?
Oh, use the clickers. That's clicker.
Opposed?
No!
We'll do it with the clickers. We'll do it with the clickers. If you want to move to the question, it's a yes. If you want to keep debate going, it's a no. Okay, now we'll go to the main motion. All those in favor of Article, we're going to use the clickers. All those in favor of this is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 1, if you're for it, vote yes. If you're not, vote no. Would you open the vote, please? All right, I'm going to close the vote. Motion carries.
Mr. Moderator? Oop. Mr. Moderator? Still not working.
Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Moderator? Mr. Moderator?
Tripped up my own thing.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. O'Leary.
I move to reconsider Article 1.
Please, we have on the floor a motion to reconsider. What this means is if you want to go back to the article, basically change, go back to the article and have more debate, you would vote yes to reconsider. If you vote no, then that's the end of that article for the remainder of this meeting, regardless of how many nights.
So again, Mr. Moderator, this is just a parliamentary move to make sure that we're done with it. We can't come back again this evening. So
If people leave, sorry, Steve, but if people leave, then someone can, later on in this meeting, bring that up for reconsideration. So
again, Mr. Moderator, make this motion to ensure that the vote that was just taken is basically memorialized and cannot come back again this evening or at any other time during this meeting, whether it be tonight or tomorrow. So if you're in favor of bringing it back up again, you vote yes. If you're done with it and you're all done with it, you don't want to hear about it again, you vote no. I'm recommending vote no. Vote no on reconsideration.
So if you want to end it, vote no. Open the vote, please.
Two-thirds, that's what I count. Yeah, under the bylaw. Town bylaw. That's town bylaws. Later on tonight. Yes. No, it was me.
Voting's closed.
Mr. Moderator, I move to admit State Senator Bruce Tarr.
I have the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Welcome, Senator. Mr. Moderator, Article 2. This is a citizen's petition, amend the code zoning bylaws. Changes to site plan review, Article 17. Mr. Moderator, I move to approve Article 2 as printed in the warrant.
Select Board recommends 3-2.
Finance Committee?
Finance Committee recommends.
Community Planning Commission? Article 2?
Planning Commission vote 4-1 to approve.
Okay. Discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This article, again, just clarifies the town's site plan review procedures, confirming that the site plan review is treated procedurally just like a special permit, but is not actually a special permit. All right? And no discretion for use is given to the special permit granting authority. So what it does, it requires the applicants, under the provision that you just passed, still required to come before the Planning Commission, put their proposal forward, have a public hearing on it, and then it just modifies what our zoning bylaws now call for. So again, I would urge people to vote yes on this one here. This does require a 2/3 vote. Again, I thank you very much for your consideration on the first article. We're almost there. We have 2 more. There will also be another motion to reconsider on this one once this is dispensed with. So I would, again, urge people to vote yes on Article 2.
Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. The motion on the floor is to approve Article 2 as printed in the warrant. Were you going to use the clickers? All those in favor, say yes, and if you're opposed, put no. And can we open the vote? Oh, you're always ahead of me. These young kids. Actually, you're all ahead of me, too. We'll close the vote.
Mr. Moderator, I move to reconsider Article 2.
We have a motion to reconsider.
And again, Mr. Moderator, I would encourage people to vote no, so it doesn't come back again.
So we will open the vote. Oh, I actually can do it this time. Okay. Close the vote. Motion to reconsider carries.
Mr. Moderator, Article 3, Citizens Petition Amend Code, Zoning Bylaws, Section 200-30, Zoning Map. Mr. Moderator, I move to approve Article 3 and correct the wording in the article by replacing the words Article 13 and 14 with the words Article 1 and 2.
For the Select Board.
Select Board recommends 3-2.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Community Planning.
For Article 3, the Planning Commission voted 4-1 in favor.
Discussion, Mr. O'Leary.
Two things. First of all, this, all it does is amend and updates the zoning map with the current revision date, which would be today, to, again, just put in there, memorialize again the action that was taken at town meeting this evening. As far as the wording change, there was just a scrivener's error in the article, referring to two other articles instead of the first 1 and 2, so that's just a correction from a scrivener's error. So again, we would urge people to vote yes on Article 3. It requires a 2/3 vote.
Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to the clickers to vote. So,
Hi, can I, Marilyn Barry, 2 Greenbrier Drive, Unit 307. I'd like to know how each individually you voted for this. Who was yes and who was no? Can you give us a roll call, please?
I was yes. Vincenzo Studo. Thank you for playing.
For the Select Board? So, I can at least speak for the Select Board. Steve O'Leary, Vincenzo Studo, and myself voted yes. And Nick Massey and our former Select Board member, Leanne Gonzalez, voted no.
Dave Glover, Rudlock, Maxwell Murphy, John, yes, and I voted yes, and Jeff Griffin voted no.
any further discussion? Okay, we'll use the clickers. So this is the motion on Article 3. Can we open the vote? Requires
Right.
open? We'll close the vote. Motion carries.
Mr. Moderator, I move to reconsider Article 3.
We have a motion to reconsider Article 3. Mr. O'Leary?
Again, once again, this is just a methodology to make sure that it doesn't come back again this evening. But what I would ask people, again, we have a lot of businesses to transact this evening, particularly our budget. So please stick around if you can. It's moving along rather quickly with this new technology, and we appreciate it. So again, on the motion to reconsider, we urge you to vote no.
Open. Close the vote. Motion carries. Article.
Mr. Moderator. Motion failed. Motion failed.
Reconsidered. I said the wrong thing. Everybody's supposed to vote no. So, sorry about that. They all enjoyed it that too. Article 4. Mr. Waller.
Article 4, Citizens Petition to amend North Reading zoning bylaws 261, Attachment 1. I move to approve Article 4 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Waller.
Not recommended unanimously.
Finance Committee,
Unanimously not recommended.
Community Planning Commission,
The Community Planning Commission unanimously did not recommend.
further discussion.
Moderator.
Mr. O'Leary.
Just for clarification, this was a citizen's petition put forth, and again, I happen to be at the public hearing. We don't see the gentleman here to offer the proposal, so we offer the motion in his stead. Again, the Planning Commission, Select Board, and Finance Committee do not recommend, so we recommend that you vote no.
Okay, further discussion? All right, this requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, as all the committees recommend, say no. Can we open the vote, please? We'll close the vote. Obviously did not pass. Mr. Wallner, Article 5.
Article 5, fiscal year 2025 budget amendment. I move to pass over Article 5 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends passing over.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends passing over.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Unanimous. Article 6, Mr. Wallner.
Mr. Moderator, Article 6 for the 2025 capital budget amendment. As of today, no anticipated budget amendments. The Select Board recommends passing over by unanimous vote.
I need you to read the motion.
I move to pass over Article 6 as printed in the warrant.
You just need to sign it.
Yep.
Recommendation from the Select Board, I heard, was agreeable, right?
Select Board recommends passing by unanimous.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends passing over Article 6.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 7.
Article 7, Fund Fiscal Year 2025 Snow and Ice Deficit. I move to appropriate from free cash the amount of $374,000 to fund a deficit in the fiscal year 2025 snow and ice budget as specified in Article 7 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
Select Board recommends by unanimous vote.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 8.
Article 8, Fiscal Year 2025, appropriate or transfer funds to Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund. I move to appropriate from free cash the amount of $1,686,505 to be added to the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund as specified in Article 8, as printed in the warrant.
I want to get the recommendations, and then I'll call on you, Mr. Vesson. The recommendation for the Select Board, please.
Select Board recommends.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Thank you. Mr. Macy, you have an amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Moderator, I move to amend Article 8 by decreasing the transfer from free cash from $1,686,505 to $1,650,505 to be transferred to the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund. Mr. Moderator, if I may. How you doing, folks? Just to give a brief background on the goal here with this amendment. This amendment is transferring, this is decreasing the amount of free cash going into the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund Article 8 this transfer of $1,686,505 is an 88.40% increase to the funds that are currently in this fund, which is $1,907,675. I want to decrease the transfer to $1,650,000 even. This will keep the transfer of free cash to the CISF, Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund, at 86.5%, would increase to the fund from the existing funds. I am proposing a decrease that transfer is only about 2%. The difference between those two numbers that I am proposing is 2%. So we're still putting 86% into the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund. The goal behind this, we have an article later on, Article 18, will to add this $35,000 into from free cash into the fiscal year 2026 capital expenditures. Excuse me. The goal with this money is to have new street signage. If you go around town, you will see 4 different types of street signage. This is something that I've come up with myself, and I hear a lot of seniors that have told me they have trouble seeing the street signage. Additionally, I want North Reading to be uniform. I think this is a simple item which everyone can benefit from, and I would urge you all to vote yes. Thank you.
Does the select board wish to take a position on the amendment? Would the Finance Committee like to take a position on the amendment?
Finance Committee does not recommend passing on this.
Okay.
The Finance Committee discussed this briefly earlier this evening in our briefing, and our sense was that while this might be a great idea, that there were a lot of other needs that this town should be looking at if there's extra money hanging around.
Mr. O'Leary.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Select Board just voted on a vote of 4 to 1 not to recommend for the same reasons that was stated by the Finance Committee. There's a methodology, again, not necessarily a bad idea, but again, generally these proposals go through a whole vetting process. We just heard about it this morning. So we do not recommend the amendment.
Rick Bode, not on. Maybe I can get away without it.
You said you could.
Can everyone hear me?
We can
Rick
hear you.
Bowden, 12 Freedom Drive. I didn't think I needed it.
I can talk
You
loud.
can't? You will.
I can talk loud.
Okay, you can. Oh, Dick. How are you? Anyway, this is a point of information for me as well as I expect a lot of other people here.
Is that a button or something?
There's a bunch of buttons. How about set? Oh, I can use the other one.
Okay.
This article along all the way to 14, they're not on. Oh, thank you. It's a long way to Tipperary.
It is.
Careful.
Be careful walking over that thing.
Oh, thank you. Was that a battery?
Yeah, I need to get a new one, but that'll
All
work
set?
right now.
How about now? Rick Bowden, 12 Freedom Drive. This question is not only pertinent to this article all the way to 14, and I'm asking for maybe the Finance Committee to enlighten me about why we transfer funds, and in some cases we don't identify a dollar amount when we're just coming up at the end of fiscal 25. We're transferring money for a shortage, or we're transferring money from or to an account to a cash position, or vice versa, without knowing a dollar amount. Is that an accounting principle, or is it something that we're like ready, fire, aim, and we're guessing at the number we might need, so we just keep putting cash into stabilization or taking it out of there to cover a loss for a budget that we exceeded?
Who are you directing this question to, sir?
Lori Ann, do you want to do it? No?
I would prefer the finance committee, but
Mi-
town
Mis-
manager
Mr.
should-
Gilberto.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Moderator, to answer the question, we cannot transfer any money at town meeting without an exact dollar amount first. So when you hear we're passing over, we're not moving any money. The only time we move any money from one account to the other or authorize it to be spent is when a dollar amount is stated. Secondly, this transfer into the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund is a critical piece of our financing plan for next year's budget. When we get to the later article to fund the operating budget, it's approximately $93 million worth. $1.2 million of that will come from this fund. So we transfer this money in, and then we transfer some of the money out. The balance will remain in the fund for use in future fiscal years, which is very important because it's how we pay for our annual debt service each year. So every dollar that goes in is critical for a future fiscal year's debt service payment.
Sir.
Dick Deming, 270 Main Street. Getting back to the street signs, is there a final dollar amount on what this is going to cost?
Sure. So I worked with the town administrator who worked with the DPW. The sign cost is approximately $70 per sign. Now, if you do the amount of streets in North Reading, there's about, I think I had between $350 and $400. That brings us to $28,000. I added a little extra, and the reason being is because some streets have two. Some streets already have those new signs, so I took those off. Some may need new posts. So I'm trying to give the ability for the DPW to grab from this fund if the future sign gets damaged and they need to purchase a new sign, they'll be able to. So I'm trying to leave a little bit of contingency.
Have you considered safety in this thought about street signs? I'm referring specifically to the fire department and the police. Have you talked to them?
I have not. They are here if they'd like to opine.
Okay, and I heard you mention uniformity.
Yes, sir.
I think uniformity takes a backseat to safety. And if signs are legible now, I don't see any reason to replace them.
Understood. I wanted it to be a nice thing for North Reading to look uniform. I also wanted to opine to the seniors who have a hard time looking at the street signs. I certainly personally have drive around and see 4 different types of signage, which is confusing. Some missing signs. So wanted to do something nice, little token, but that is okay. I will respect the vote of the people.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Yule.
Jeff Yule. Mr. Massey, I want to thank you for giving consideration to people somewhat older than you. I have to say, uniformity has everything to do with safety. If the signs are a good size and everybody can see them, all right, we don't have to worry about, like in this case, if you've ever gone to Marshall Street, all right, it's a very hard street to identify. All of a sudden you're there and you passed it and you have to make a U-turn, and it does have a sign that's somewhere behind the trees and it's very small. So uniformity and size are very important to safety, whether it's the fire department or not, okay? And would you all please be quiet back there? All right, have some respect. Thank you. All right, so that's a very important thing that you bring up. It is safety. Now, if I let Matt go next, he's just going to move to the question and leave it at that. Thank you.
Matthew Page, 1 Peabody Street. I move to the question, please.
So we would vote first. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, so we vote on the amendment first. So why don't we take a vote on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment, obviously you'd want to say yes. And if you're not in favor of the amendment is to redo all the street signs. If you're not in favor, you vote no. Could we please open the vote? Okay, I'm going to close the vote. The amendment fails. The amendment fails. Now we're back to the main motion, and that is to transfer from free cash the 1,686,505 to the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund. So we'll do this with Mr. Yule.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. All right, I'm going to be blunt here. All right? The people behind me could give a damn about listening to everyone else. Okay? They're only concerned about the article coming up for the budget, and they're going to get the hell out of here. They are a sad reflection of this town. Okay?
No, Jeff, stop.
Thank you.
Stop.
Oh, so now they're talking to you and you got it, right? Children, children, children.
So we're on Article 8. We have the motion on the floor. I'll open it up for the vote. If you agree to the transfer of the funds, you'd vote yes. If not, vote no. We open the vote, please. We'll close it. Main motion carried. Article 9. Mrs. Moran.
Mr. Moderator. Article 9, fiscal year 2025, appropriate to transfer funds to other post-employment benefits liability trust fund. I move to pass over Article 9 as printed in the warrant. Oh. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay, good. Sorry about that. Fiscal year 2025, appropriate to transfer funds to other post-employment benefits liability trust fund. The balance is $4,521,781. The article is proposed to be passed over. Select Board recommends passing over.
Finance Committee have a recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends passing over.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 10. Ms. Moran.
Article 10, fiscal year 2025, appropriate or transfer funds to stabilization fund. The balance is $5,021,125. The article proposes to transfer $350,000 in free cash into fund.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board recommends.
Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends, this is an extremely important stabilization fund for the town. It's functionally our rainy day account, and it should be about 5% of our revenue. It's getting there, it's not there, but we need to keep growing it. It's very, very important.
Further discussion? We'll try the voice vote on this. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 11. Mr. Massey.
Mr. Moderator, Article 11, fiscal year 2025, appropriate or transfer funds to solid waste stabilization fund. I move to pass over Article 11 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, fiscal year 2025, appropriate or transfer to Water Stabilization Fund. I move to appropriate from fiscal year 2025 Water Department retained earnings the sum of $530,698 to be transferred to the Water Infrastructure Stabilization Fund as specified in Article 12 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
For the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 13, Mr. Macy.
Mr. Moderator, Article 13, fiscal year 2025, appropriate or transfer funds to participating funding arrangement fund. Mr. Moderator, I move to pass over Article 13 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends passing over.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends passing over.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 14.
Mr. Moderator, Article 14, fiscal year 2025, appropriate or transfer funds to school district reserve fund for unanticipated unbudgeted costs for special education, out-of-district tuition, or transportation. I move to appropriate from free cash the amount of $100,000 to be transferred to the school district reserve fund for unanticipated unbudgeted costs for special education, out-of-district tuition, or transportation, as specified in Article 14 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
School Committee.
School Committee unanimously recommends.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 15.
Article 15, Mr. Moderator. Fiscal year 2025 Fire Station Planning. I move to appropriate from free cash the amount of $200,000 for fire station planning as specified in Article 15 as printed in the warrant.
For the recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends, this is an important article. If you recall, last year, we put a stop on going further with the renovation of the existing central fire station. For one of the big reasons was because we felt we needed more time to investigate where and what size West Side Fire Station we might need to add to the equation. The west side of town is not as well, is much denser than some other parts of town. In any event, this $200,000 is to hire an architect to help work with the fire station building committee in determining, basically, what kind of fire station, what kinds of programs we might want to run for this firehouse. So it's basically a feasibility study for the potential West Side Fire Station. Chief is supported.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Article 16. Mr. Studo.
Article 16, FY 2026 operating budget. I move to raise and appropriate and transfer the amount set forth in the column headed Select Board recommended in lines 1 through 114, including the transfer of other funds totaling $93,813,578, all is set forth in the budget detail dated June 9, 2025, as printed in the warrant, and further that the lines for department salaries and expenses shall be considered a single appropriation for each department, except for line 100, which shall be for the purposes of paying assessments to the Northeast Metropolitan Regional Vocational High School and Essex North Shore Agricultural and Technical High School, as specified in Article 16, as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board recommends.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
School Committee.
And it was a unanimous recommendation from the Select Board.
Further discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Gilberto.
Everybody hear me okay? Through you, this is the town's operating budget for the upcoming fiscal year. It's a $93 million authorization, as you saw in your warrant. I would ask for a 10-minute leave of the meeting for a presentation with regard to the budget. I'd be assisted by the superintendent of schools.
We want to use the clickers, take a vote for a 10-minute leave of the meeting for the town administrator and the school superintendent to present the budget, the annual budget. 10-minute leave of the meeting. All right, so we can vote now. We'll close the voting.
We could just switch over the slides, please.
10 minutes, Mr.
Thank you.
Gilberto.
I'll try to do it faster. Our budget process is a collaboration between municipal and school leaders through our financial planning team with the representatives that are listed on the slide there. We work on a strategy for allocating revenue and work together to address budget shortfalls. We ultimately recommend a budget to the Select Board, School Committee, and Finance Committee to be forwarded to you here at town meeting each June. The process evolves over multiple months. There are many revenue and expense components. Some of these are known in advance and some become known at different points leading up to town meeting. And some are not known until there are policy decisions made by boards such as the Select Board and School Committee. You may have seen some variance in the numbers over the past few months. It's a reflection of the evolving nature of the budget process. In the end, you have the final say. All of the work done in advance is intended to provide a plan that the voters may choose to approve or disapprove. However, we must have a budget in place on July 1st for our departments, including the school department, to operate. Property taxes accounted for $64.8 million in revenue out of a total $83.4 million in fiscal year 25. The rest of the funding is state aid, departmental revenue, and other funding sources, including transfers from other funds, as mentioned earlier. Property taxes for existing buildings and developed land are our only source of revenue that's predictable over the long term. New growth, such as the new buildings and development, occurs each year, but it's not necessarily predictable over the long term. Over a 20-year period, our average costs have exceeded revenues, with our fixed costs at about 5% increasing per year, municipal costs at 3.3%, and our salaries and expenses for schools at 4.1% per year. New growth, new construction or renovations has been a stabilizing force in our budgets in recent years. Our conservative budgeting has allowed a town to generate free cash, which is left over from one year to the next, to allow us to present a balanced budget. These are the projections. The slide should look very familiar to what you saw at town meeting last year, showing the deficit that we project each year in the years moving forward. This is a reminder from the June 12, 2023 town meeting 2 years ago, where last year, the year that's ending, would be difficult and that we would face difficult discussions about our priorities, including what we could and could not do within the limits of Proposition 2.5. A similar slide that showed up last year at town meeting, our collective leadership identified our annual budget strain as urgent, and there was discussion with regard to a Proposition 2.5 override. We talked about the fact that in the absence of additional tax revenue through an override, there would be direct adverse school and municipal service impacts over an 18-month period that we are in now. Our goals were to continue budget collaboration with the town and school, maintain service levels, modify or add services where we needed to incorporate multiple funding streams, and to develop a scenario that maintained services to the extent possible without relying on an override. This is a description of funding which appeared in your warrant on one of the earlier pages, and you could see that there was initially a municipal deficit of $503,000 and $722,000 for the public schools after an allocation adjustment. This shows you a breakdown of how the funding is spent, not including enterprise funds. You can see that fixed costs are a large component that come off the top, and then the remainder is divided between municipal and school expenses. The municipal budget, it's a long listing of cuts that was available on the website that were discussed and identified as necessary in order to balance the budget for this fiscal year. That got us to a $20.9 million operating budget request. The impacts may not have a noticeable impact on residents. However, the reduction will impact our free cash to be available in the upcoming fiscal year. We talked about service reductions, which we're seeing in place, particularly in the public schools. We have a few slides on the public schools. I'll turn it over to the superintendent, and I'm happy to move the slides for you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilberto. This slide just shows that our budget this year, we had a budget gap, $597,752, and we were able to reconcile that in the following way. Next slide. This year we had to reduce 7.2 FTE positions. So I know I've communicated this out. Many people have seen this in the newspaper and in our communications. But we reduced 7.2 positions. There was a position with administrative restructuring, elementary teachers, middle school, high school teachers. There were 4 positions, including in world language and computer science departments. High school special education, there was 1 position that was reduced, and 0.2 of a paraprofessional. This is in addition to positions from last year. There were cut academic interventionists, 3 positions, guidance counselor 1, technology technician 1 position, 2 classroom teachers, 3 special education teachers, 0.5 school nurse was a reduction, 4 paraprofessional positions, 1 facilities position, and 3 athletic coaching positions. We just, put this forward as we talk. Last year we talked about the multiple year impacts. Everything, much of what we talked about last year came to fruition this year and last year. And next year we're concerned in FY27 and the year after in FY28. This could impact class sizes at all schools, leading us to consider possible redistricting. That would be taking students from one elementary school and moving to others if that was necessary. The reduction of school adjustment counselors, administrative coordinator positions, our tech engineering program, and possible cuts to athletic arts, performing arts programs and courses. Again, none of these are cuts that we believe we should be even considering, but they are a reality if we have to cut $500,000, $1 million in the future. So we just want to make sure everyone knew those implications. I look forward to working with the town and all of you to find solutions to these challenges.
That concludes the presentation. We're happy to answer any questions.
You have 4 minutes to spare. Nice job. Further discussion? Mr. Studio, you? No. Further discussion?
My name is Alan Kornacki. I live at Edgewood Apartments at 106 Lowell Road. The school budget is the largest part of this budget, and salaries are a major part of the school budget. I think I read that the teachers' salary raises were something like 5% this year. Where is that negotiated? Is that done at the town level? Is that at the state with the teachers' union? I'm just curious, because that's one of the major stressors on the budget with the 2.5% limit also.
I can give an initial answer, which is that under state law, the negotiations are conducted by the school committee. And so they have, I believe, a negotiating team that negotiates with the various collective bargaining units and then ultimately brings forth an agreement for consideration by the entire school committee in a public meeting.
Hello, my name is Jack Southard, 10 Winterberry Lane. I have a son in the 4th grade and a daughter in the 2nd grade. As someone who's planning on being here for the next 10 years, kind of a general question to everyone up here. Has anyone put together there's a lot of smart people in this town. Has anyone put together like a 5-year plan, has anybody really thought about the big picture for this town in terms of all of us being tired of driving around down 28 and having to revisit this of Dr. Daly coming to us every 6 months and saying, we're short, and my kids constantly having things cut and having to revisit the 2.5 proposal. Has anybody put together a larger big picture plan of, hey, we don't have sewer in town, we're not going to get commercial we're not going to get commercial taxes. How do we kind of big picture this whole plan? I look at this and the commercial real estate taxes are 7%. And I can guarantee the towns around us are getting a lot more commercial real estate taxes, industrial real estate taxes than 7%. And I know there's a lot of smart people in this town. I would love to contribute. I'm at baseball practice with my son, and I love this town, and I want to be here for a long time. But I know Main Street's not sustainable this way. So I just want to see, is this something that's been talked about with the Finance Committee, with the Select Board? I appreciate what you guys are doing. I just want to see if this is something that is being discussed with you guys. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Mr. Gilberto.
Through you, Mr. Moderator, that's a great summary of the challenges that I think we all see that the community faces. We have done a projection, and we presented it as part of the discussion regarding the town's budget last year. As I put it up on the screen there, it's not good news. It shows that our expenses will outpace our revenues in very short order, and in fact already have, as it was anticipated. So we have looked at the numbers and certainly appreciate that aspect of the question. There is a master plan for the town that's been approved by the Community Planning Commission. At some point soon, it will be due for updates as is required under state law. And it does look for potential opportunities for development on the Main Street corridor. One of the scenarios that was reviewed and ultimately the town didn't want to move forward was to make available wastewater through a very expensive project on Main Street intended to promote development. That project didn't move forward for a variety of reasons, including the cost not only to the town but to the abutters. And so we've sort of found ourselves at a spot of now we need to decide what's next with regard to supporting development and how much development is the town willing to tolerate. Repeatedly we have heard from market studies that the challenge for commercial development in town is density for housing. And obviously that's not something that we easily look to support in town because of the impact it can have on services. So the community finds itself in a spot where these discussions are going to need to take place, not just here, but at the many board and committee meetings that happen between town meetings. Sir, I appreciate your interest and feel free to take a look online for available positions. Put your name in for anything you might be interested in, and you'll certainly get contacted as we go through the appointment process. So I do my best to try to answer that. Hopefully that helps.
Katie Prowl, 59 Central Street. I'd like to move to the question.
Move to the question. Move to the question. I'm out. We'll move to the question. So, to end the debate, the battery's running low. Yeah. The battery's running low. It's running low. I've been standing here since whatever. A little back and forth, but anyway, we'll move to the question. All in favor of moving to the question, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? So we will now vote on the motion on the floor, which is the FY26 operating budget. Dare I try it? Oh, why not? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. As was moved to the question. Article 17. Mr. Studo.
Mr. Murphy.
Oh. Ma'am.
Sarah McGoldrick, 4 John Bickford Way. Motion to reconsider Article 16.
Okay.
I just want to close it.
I get it. We have a motion to reconsider Article 16, which is the operating budget. So if you vote no, then that's it. We won't have to debate it again. If people leave, they can bring it up again. So that's why she did that. All right, he'll give me the paperwork. Why don't we get ready? This is a 2/3 per bylaw, because Robert's Rules of Order is only majority. But if you don't want to talk about it again, just say no. Oh, yeah. Open the vote, please.
Just say no. Just say no.
Kind That stops. That looks about right. I'm gonna close the voting. You know what? That article is closed out too. It will not be reconsidered.
If everyone could stay, it'd be nice. You know, we don't want to get lonely over here, just in case. Article 17. I move to appropriate from free cash the amount of $180,400 and from the ambulance reserve the sum of $64,800 to fund one-time recruitment and paramedic training costs, including all costs and similar related thereto, to specified in Article 17 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the select board.
Select board unanimously recommends.
Finance committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion? Mr. Gilberto? No. Any further discussion?
Yes, on this and other articles, I'd just like to remind anybody who's still here, everything that we're looking at tonight that's up here is discussed and is readily available for anybody to see on YouTube. Thank you to our friends in NORCAM. You can see all of the deliberations of all of the committees, and it'll help you to understand what's going on in the town. I think it's important that our citizens be reminded of the fact that these are available for everyone to witness. Thank you.
Any discussion on Article 17? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous?
Article 18. I move to appropriate amounts to purchase items and complete projects of a capital nature in the amounts from the source of funds for the purposes as specified in the table following Article 18 is printed in the warrant, including equipping vehicles and for all items and all incidentals related to cost, and furthermore, in all instances where bond is listed as a source of funds, said borrowing will be pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, and other enabling authority, and to authorize the treasurer with the approval of the select board to borrow said specified sums and issue bonds and notes therefor.
Recommendation for the select board.
Select board recommends.
For the finance committee.
Unanimously.
Okay. Oh, school committee.
School committee unanimously recommends.
Sorry. The capital planning committee report.
Yes. I'm Don Kelleher. I'm chair of the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. And I will try to talk into the microphone so you can hear me. You get me back there? Good. Capital Improvement Planning Committee is made up of 9 members, 2 representing the schools, 2 representing the select board, 2 from administration, 2 from the finance committee, and 1 citizen. We get requests around the beginning of December, comes through the finance director, and then we meet as often as we have to, and sometimes it's once a week, sometimes a little more, to go through all of the requests and debate them, rank them individually, and then come up with a proposal to the select board, which we do in April. So this represents the recommendations made by CIPC in April of this year. I can go through them, but I'll do them as briefly as I can. The Hood School, there is a roofing that is needed at the school. We've done a preliminary study a year ago and some work where we're recommending a $550,000 item this year, and there'll be another $450,000 next year to complete the project. This will be bonded. The roadway rehabilitation, this comes in a number of pieces. We've, in total, although it shows $1,163,000 here, there's an additional $815,000 that comes from the state by way of a fund under Chapter 90. So the total that is recommended this year is $1,678,000. It includes town roads, neighborhood roads. It includes, in this proposal, Lowell Street from the Pulte property down to Main Street, and it includes North Street from Lowell to Main Street, part that was dug up for water mains. So there's a fair amount of money going in there. We had to defer another piece of a little over $800,000, which is to redo Concord Street. That will be on either next year's recommendation, or if funds are available, it'll be perhaps brought up in October. No decision has been made on that, but Concord Street is in dire need of work as well. We just didn't have enough money to do it all. Going down the list, we need to order a new ambulance. Ambulances take several years to be built, so we need to get an order in soon. That's $575,000, and it will be 100% paid for out of the ambulance reserve, which is the funds that the fire department collects for transporting people to the hospital. We also need to upgrade the turnout gear for the firefighters. Turnout gear has a life of 10 years. However, it can only be used at front line for 5 years, so we replace it every 5 years and then move the first front line back as the backup gear for the second year. So firefighters either have new equipment or 5-year-old equipment, and that will work down. School technology, this is whiteboards and the like that we try to replenish and keep the schools current on that equipment. Computer equipment replacement for information services, those are the laptops, printers, servers, all of the equipment that is used in the municipal government. Riverside Cemetery expansion, we need to open up some roads. We haven't done much in the cemetery in the last several years, and we need to get to that. I have a vested interest in that one. The bucket truck. We inherited a bucket truck from Reading Municipal Light Department many years ago. We got it for nothing, and right now it needs to be replaced. Number one, it doesn't lift high enough, and two, if it did lift high enough, nobody should be in it. So we need to replace it. DPW has been trying to get this replaced for a number of years. We're recommending that we do it this year. Engineering service to design a handicap ramp at the third meeting house. Preliminary, there's going to be more work done on the third meeting house over the years, but the first thing we need to deal with is a handicap ramp so that the elderly citizens can easily get into the building. More to come in the future years. Police department tasers. This is to update the equipment they have. They currently have tasers. They need new ones. They do go out of date. Sidewalk repair and tree removal. This is an annual item. It is to try to stay ahead of not roads that are being redeveloped or refurbished, but just roads where there are trees planted in the strip next to the sidewalk that have lifted up the sidewalks. We're trying to do as many of those as we can. It would take a lot more than $25,000 to do everything in town, but it's an ongoing project. Replace for the highway department, an F-250. It's a 2008, 17 years old. They get their money's worth out of the trucks, and this one does need to be replaced rather. It's had many repairs to it. Fire department also needs to replace the 2016 Tahoe. The police department, that again is 9 years old. The town website is, it needs some loving, and we're proposing putting some money in there just to get this updated so it is user-friendly. People can access what they need in town, and it has not been updated in some time. On the Damon Tavern, we need to replace some shingles, some asphalt and shingles and some slate shingles on the front and the back to protect the building, keep it from water coming in and doing any damage to the building or any of the contents in the building. The fire department has promoted a day officer. We need a vehicle for that individual. That individual does a lot of inspections in the town, is the fire prevention officer, and needs a vehicle to be able to get around. Those are the school and municipal items. In addition, there is a $200,000 for the water enterprise. This is a fairly typical item just to update the water systems as we go along. So that amounts to some total almost $5 million, but $4.7 million in budgets. Bonding will be $1.210 million. Free cash, which we talked about before, is $2 million, a little over $2 million. Very, very important that we have free cash to be able to do these and not to be burdening the town with principal and interest payments over the next number of years, anywhere from 10 years on roads to maybe 30 or 40 years on buildings. The ambulance reserve, as I said, is paying for the ambulance, and the overlay reserve had some excess money, and that's going in to help support a couple of the vehicles. Some things that we need to talk about briefly that were deferred from this year. We got probably another over $6 million in requests, more over and above what I've just described. And they will have to be addressed. As I mentioned, Concord Street is about $811,000. Bridge and culvert rehabilitation, that is to try to stay ahead of issues with bridges and culverts. That's $500,000. We had to defer it. We just didn't have enough money to do it and do everything else. There's another request for a car in the fire department. We'll take that up again next year. The rear entrance of Town Hall, the little portico over the back door needs to be replaced. Not critical, but it needs to be replaced, and that will come back up again next year.
Don.
Sorry?
Don, you went way over the time.
Pardon? Well, all right.
Time's up.
I'm done. Can I just one more? There is a big item coming up, and that's the Hood and Little School modulars. We're going to be proposing an addition onto the Hood School to take care of all of the modulars that are at the Hood and the Little, and that's going to be north of $4.5 million, but that's probably October, maybe next June. Thank you.
Any further discussion on Article 18? We'll use the clickers. There's a two-thirds. It requires a two-thirds vote for the items that are bonded. So I don't want to have to split the vote if I'm uncertain with voice levels. So if we could open the polling, it's two-thirds. I'm looking for a two-thirds. Every time I think it stopped, it doesn't. See? Five, four, three, two, one. Close it. Article 19. Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Moderator. Where are we? Mr. Moderator. Authorize the naming of the multi-purpose athletic field, the North Reading Middle School, High School, in honor of Charles Carucci Sr. I move to approve Article 19 as printed in the warrant. I got it right, okay.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
We are enthusiastically, unanimously recommending.
Finance Committee. School Committee. Any further discussion? Mr. O'Leary.
Just to read what's up here because it's important to recognize people such as Chucky. So again, it's the article, request approval to name the multipurpose athletic field at the high school in honor of a longtime resident Charles Carucci Sr., who was nominated by David Johnson, athletic director. The North Reading School Committee fanned a screening committee where nominations were reviewed and a public hearing was held on February 24th, 2025 for the purpose of garnering input from the community. On March 10th, 2025, the North Reading School Committee voted unanimously to name the multipurpose field after Charles Carucci Sr. based upon his unusually effective and dedicated service to or on behalf of the youth in the North Reading schools. So, again, I don't want to steal any thunder from the school committee, but they do a fantastic job of screening people. But for those of you who know Chuck, you love Chuck. So it's Chucky's been a lifelong resident of this community. Again, not just advocating on behalf of the youth, but also serving on the Community Planning Commission, the Hillview Commission, a host of whole other committees. He was chairman of the building committee that built this facility. Just a longtime resident, constantly giving, still giving today. And again, just got elected to the Housing Authority. And again, it's an honor to recommend to you that we name this facility after Chuck.
Further discussion? Oh.
Thank you, sir. We just wanted to say, Patrick Daly, Superintendent, just wanted to say once again, echo what Mr. O'Leary said. This building that we're in now, our fields, we would not be here the same way if not for the work of Chuck Carucci. It's long overdue and well deserved. So thank you so much for considering this today.
Anything further? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 20, Mr. O'Leary.
Article 20, authorize the naming of the softball field at the North Reading Middle School, High School in honor of Jennifer Casoli-Vant. Mr. Moderator, I move to approve Article 20 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
Once again, the Select Board enthusiastically, unanimously recommends passage of this article.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee, no action required.
School Committee.
Mr. Carucci, many thanks for all his years of service.
School committee unanimously recommends.
Further discussion.
Again, this article requests the approval of the name of the softball field at the high school in honor of Jennifer Casoli-Vant, who was nominated by Valerie Marchella, Kelly Strobe, and others. The North Reading School Committee formed a screening committee where nominations were reviewed, and a public hearing was held on February 24th, 2025, for the purpose of garnering input from the community. On March 10th, 2025, the North Reading School Committee voted unanimously to name the softball field after Jennifer Casoli-Vant, based upon her unusually effective, that should actually be in quote, effective and dedicated since or two on behalf of the youth of North Reading schools. Just that softball field would not have been located on the campus here if not for Jennifer Casoli-Vant's advocacy and her ability to raise the awareness of what was unfair in relation to the location. It was over at the little school, and it was not in our original plans to locate it here on the campus. Her advocacy was unrelenting and unabashed in relation to, I'll use the word threatening us, if we didn't do the right thing. And her advocacy is renowned at this point, and again, the honor here is well-deserved, and we're very happy to recommend it. Thank you.
Further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Hi, am I open?
This is in reference to Article 21.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? This is a motion to permit non-registered voter to address town meeting. I move to permit the following non-registered voters to address the town meeting: Fabiana Santos and Adilson Santos, who are the operators at Hillview Function Facility. Yes?
So, this is precedent, we've done this in the past, so they'd like to address the meeting under Article 21.
Right, do you want the motion first?
No, I want to take a vote on allowing them to. You read the motion.
Yeah, she just wants the motion to pass to allow someone to speak. Okay. Yeah. Are we in favor? Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
The Select Board's in favor of allowing them to speak? Yes.
So, the people who are working at Hillview right now are here. They are not registered voters. We're going to be talking about raising the building. So, this is one of their employees who's a town resident, and they would like to speak at this meeting. So, her motion was to allow them to speak at this meeting, and I'd call for a vote on that. All those in favor of allowing them to speak at the meeting, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator,
It's under the same rules as the town, as other speakers, okay? So, 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. O'Leary.
Okay. Article 21, Hillview Function Building Demolition Project. I move to appropriate $1 million for the purposes set forth in Article 21 as printed in the warrant for this meeting, and that to meet this appropriation, $500,000 shall be transferred from Hillview retained earnings, and the treasurer, with the approval of the Select Board, is authorized to borrow $500,000 under the pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 7-1, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town, therefore, with the intention that the debt service associated with said borrowing be paid in the first instance through Hillview Enterprise revenue as specified in Article 21 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee with full understanding of some of the mixed feelings from the townspeople and the demise of the company. Nonetheless recommends, does not recommends demolition.
Okay. Further discussion?
Again, just to further discussion, the building at the Hillview, which is the function hall right now, also part of it is the old historic building that's been there since 1700 and some odd date. This decision does not come lightly, and again, we have a presentation from the Hillview Commission explaining the rationale why. Initially, the Hillview Commission was not thinking about this, but again, last October, you appropriated $2.5 million to just repair the roof on this particular facility. It was determined before they spent any of the money that you appropriated that they maybe push the pause button and let's take a look at what we're getting out of this. And the return on the investment, if you're going to do it strictly on a financial basis, it makes absolutely no sense. If you're going to do it from a basis in relation to, pulling on the heartstrings and saying we should, keep this building or a portion of the building, then it may make some sense that we not do this. But from the dollars and cents standpoint, $2.6 million for a roof, and we still need to address a lot of the infrastructure in the building. We need to talk about plumbing, we need electrical, we need windows, we need HVAC. We're talking millions of dollars of additional revenues needed to bring this facility up to snuff. Keep in mind the enterprise, the Hillview Enterprise, were 7 volunteer members of the community and 1 full-time employee. We are not in the function hall business. We license the facility out. The revenue stream in relation to this facility is somewhere around $3,500, $3,600 a month, plus they pay the utilities. It costs the Hillview Commission money every year to maintain this facility beyond the revenue stream that comes in. And we're looking at bonding now, $2.6 million just to fix a roof, and if we're going to spend another $1 million in the facility or more, the enterprise's ability to give back to the community, if you think about what the Hillview Commission has done over the years, Ipswich River Park, we enjoy Ipswich River Park. The Hillview Commission, through the enterprise, paid for that facility. Your taxpayer dollars did not pay for it. It's the revenue from the golf. And so as they have, again, the turf field at the high school, middle school field down here on Park Street was paid for through the Hillview Commission Enterprise Fund, not your tax dollars. They were looking forward to putting more back into the community at future dates. But if we tie up all this revenue, we bond $2.5 million or $3.5 million, that's about the capacity that they can handle from a cash flow standpoint. There'll be no other revenues and no other projects that can even be considered by the Hillview Commission for at least 10 years or more. So the decision was made to bring forward to you a proposal to demolish the building. Again, not taken lightly, and we'll let the Hillview Commission explain it to you. So please listen carefully. Please give it strong consideration. This is not a recommendation while we're unanimous. We're unanimously looking at it as we feel badly about it, but from an economic standpoint, it doesn't make any sense. So with that, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moderator, the Hillview Commission does have a brief presentation to explain their rationale.
Okay. So it's in the 5-minute time frame.
Louis DeFranzo, 2 Lady Slipper Lane, member of the Hillview Commission. Mr. Moderator, I have a presentation that may ask for leave. It may take between 5 and 10 minutes to run through this quickly.
Why don't you ask for 10?
I'll ask for 10, please.
You get 5. If they say no to you 10, you'll still get 5.
All right, I'm going to ask for 10, if I can.
He's asking for leave of the meeting for 10 minutes for the purposes of a presentation. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'll try to be quick. As Mr. O'Leary said, this is a recommendation made by the commission after a lot of work. We have spent in excess of a year. We hired an architect and a project manager, and we're recommending unanimously a demolition of the building on North Street. A vote in favor of this article would result in the demolition of the building up on North Street that would occur sometime next year in 2026. Question is, why is the commission proposing the demolition after this work of investigating the roof? We were here a year ago to ask for a bond, which was issued, which we've never drawn upon and will be rescinded. The building's been repaired many times. It's an antiquated building that requires constant work and triage for roof leaks and heating and plumbing issues, and it's draining the enterprise of a lot of cash flow. We did the cost estimate to have the roof repaired, and it came in at $2.3 million. That's before contingencies, before any cost overruns. As Mr. O'Leary noted, if we were to draw in that bond and pay back that bond, it would probably use the funds from the enterprise over the next approximately 8 years until we would pay that off. The roof just, it leaks, and if we did begin with that project and we improved the building or tried to repair the building, it may trigger the need for us to do further work on the building, which we've received estimates that would cost in excess of $7.5 million to bring the building up to snuff. That amount of money would need to be bonded by the Hillview Commission or by the enterprise, and it's unlikely that that amount could be sustained by our cash flow. In fact, $7.5 million would be above and beyond our bonding capacity. So then it would become the responsibility of the town and the taxpayers. Earlier this year, the town ran a facilities master plan. That report, provided by an outside contractor, concluded that the building had numerous violations, that the entire mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems are past their useful life, and the cost would be exorbitant. That's in fact why we investigated the total cost of replacing the building. As Mr. O'Leary also noted, the renovation investment really provides little to no upside return. Right now, the building doesn't generate any profit for the enterprise, and the community utility that we realize I can keep going.
Oh, it's on a timer. Yeah.
Do you want me to keep going? Okay. The commission believes that the fiscally responsible choice for the town is to eliminate the risk that the building poses to the enterprise, avoid incurring this investment that has not marginal return for the enterprise, and to free the cash flow so that we can do some further things for the community. So generally, we wanted to outline what our outlook is as a commission for the plan. We look at it as a phased project. The first part of that phase would be to demolish the building. The second part of what we intend to do, or what we intend to seek approval for, is to cover the deck that is over our cart barn, which currently also leaks, and ultimately transition that to our office space and some protection for our golf carts, and then transition them to a solar power electrical carts that would be economically, ecology friendly. And then we project that that would allow us to fund another community project sometime by 2028. I think it's important to have a little bit of historical context in order to understand this vote. I've been on the commission for nearly 10 years. It took me a number of years to really understand what the enterprise is all about and what the Hillview is all about. Back in January of 1988, the town took some very dramatic action to take by eminent domain the Hillview Country Club. That was a private country club for those who do not know that. At that time, the acquisition price was funded by a $4.7 million bond. That bond was paid by the enterprise from the operations of the golf course and the building, plus a grant by the state of $1.5 million. In that acquisition, the enterprise's charter was created that prescribes what the purposes of the enterprise funds can be used for. And it's important to note that throughout that time, since 1988, no taxpayer dollars have had to be used to fund any of the enterprise's operations. And in fact, the enterprise has generated money for its purposes, which if you have, there was mention of the Ipswich River Park, the acquisition of the golf course, and the turf field here. So we've improved with community projects by about $10 million, including those measures at Ipswich River Park and the turf field and the enterprise itself. Here's a slide that just tells you generally what happens with the annual revenue, how it breaks down between our operating expenses and the capital investments to run our property, and what the net income is that we're generated that we can use for funding projects. The Hillview operations generally consist of the golf course, which we run through a management contract. Right now, that company that runs the golf course for us is GFMI. We pay them a management fee and some royalties based on the greens fees that we collect. That is the golden goose that generates the money for the enterprise. And then the second aspect is the function building. The function building has had approximately 4 different operators during its tenure since the property was taken. We had a longtime operator, Burton Page, who was affiliated with the Colonial Hilton and had that experience. He ran it until 2012. Then Pat Lee of the Horseshoe ran it for a couple of years. That was followed by Nick Yeber of Teresa's up until COVID, and then the building was vacant. After that time, we were able to secure another operator, our current operator, Ultra Chic, who runs a function business at the site, and they've been a licensee at the site since 2022. We had an open hearing for the community, and we've been before the select board to explain our recommendation. What we've found is there really have been 2 threads of resistance to what we're proposing. The first was the nostalgic importance of the building and the historical aspects of the site. The building was settled by the Holt family in the late 1700s, and the Holt family built a home in the early 1800s. In the 1920s, the property was sold to the Middlebrook family and converted into the Red Hill Country Club, and that's when the golf course was constructed. That original home was gutted with the establishment of the country club. Over the years, the ownership of that property has changed hands several times prior to the town taking it in 1988, and the current building has very minimal elements remaining from the pre-golf course construction, and it appears that really there are only a few beams in the basement and some sections of the fieldstone foundation, but the general consensus is that there's not a sufficient basis for any meaningful restoration of anything historical at the site based on what's there and what's left. We met with the Historical Commission and the Historical Society, who don't oppose the demolition of the building, and we've agreed to work with them to cooperatively create some sort of commemoration of the Holt home historically at the site. The other thread of resistance was raised by the current operator of the space. They do run a function business there. This is no reflection on those folks. They've been a terrific partner, but as Mr. said, we just don't generate sufficient revenues to justify subsidizing that business going forward. The remediation costs are just exorbitant compared to what we take in for licensing fees. So that's the basis of why the commission has unanimously voted and recommends the approval of this article. Thank you.
You got a minute left.
Matthew Page, 1 Peabody Street. So I am the president of the North Reading Historical and Antiquarian Society. I also serve on the Historical Commission and the Historic District Commission. And I had the privilege of meeting with the Hillview, some of the Hillview Commission members and our excellent Hillview operations manager to talk about the potential demolition of the structure. And as Lou sort of accurately relayed in his presentation, it was really clear walking through the structure, at least from my standpoint, that probably back sometime in the 1920s to 1940s, that building, at least the historic part of it that we see now, was pretty much gutted, and very little of it of historical value remains. I've talked a lot about this to folks in town who care about historical preservation in town, and we all are really sad that, frankly, that this building that at one time was a real historical landmark is probably no longer salvageable, given the costs involved. So I just wanted to be on the record saying that it's a real sad situation, but it's one that really we can't change unless we invent a time machine and go back in time to 1920 and change how that building was treated. I applaud the Hillview Commission for reaching out to us and engaging with us throughout the sort of difficult decision-making process that they went through. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We would like to begin by introducing ourselves. My name is Fabiana Santos, and this is my husband, Adilson Santos, and we are the operators of the Hillview Function Facility. We are not just an event company. We operate on the unique full-service model that offers everything in one place: the venue, catering, full custom decor, and event planning. We've been managing the function facility for over 3 years now under a 5-year lease agreement with an option to extend for another 5, giving us the potential for a 10-year total lease per our contract with the town. We took over operations in March 2022. The facility was not fully functional. We didn't receive our liquor license until July, and due to health code non-compliance, we couldn't use the upstairs kitchen until December of that year. This meant we had to churn away many events during our first year, a year we consider essentially lost. It wasn't until 2023 that we could finally begin operating at a full capacity. The reality is that function facilities are a difficult business to make a profit on rentals and food alone. That's why many have failed. What sets us apart is our ability to offer full-scale decor and planning, where most of our revenue is generated. Our packages start at $24,800 for 100 guests, allowing us to sustain the business and offer a higher quality experience. To put things into perspective, a traditional function facility operation at full capacity, 2 events per week, let's say 100 guests at $50 per person, might gross around $520,000 annually. Between January and May of this year, we've already generated $362,831. Despite slow months in January and February, with 7 months left of the year, projections are $590,000, which would bring us close to $1 million by the end of this year. Even before factoring in bar sales and add-ons, if the downstairs roof were repaired, we could host 2 events at the same time on the weekend, significantly increasing our revenue. Currently, due to ongoing roof leaks, the downstairs space can only be used when the upstairs ballroom is vacant in case we need to move the event due to rain. Since day one, we've expressed our interest in opening a downstairs restaurant. The commission even asked us to submit a proposal, but we haven't been able to move forward because the roof hasn't been addressed. The restaurant could serve not just as golfers, but the broader community, and it would create another important revenue mainstream. We do not believe this building should be demolished. It is a cherished historic part of North Reading, filled with decades of family memories. Many residents have celebrated weddings for 3 generations. When you see what we've done with the space, we believe you'll also agree the building is worth saving. When we took over, we weren't aware of the the history of the Hillview. Over time, we've come to understand how much meaningful this building is to so many, and it warms our heart to now be part of that legacy. We sincerely hope the commission will consider and reinvest in this beautiful facility, preserving it for future generations. We understand the proposed $2 million cost to repair the building may seem steep, but we urge the town to seek a second opinion. We believe this space is still worth saving, not just for us, but for the town. Over the past 3 years, we've had the honor of hosting countless town-sponsored events: school banquets, junior prom, senior citizens prom, fundraisers for the Batch Elder School, veterans luncheons, the Thanksgiving luncheons for Reading and North Reading, and more. We take immense pride in these events, often offering them a steep discount, just $40 to $45 per person, and we frequently provide full decor, floor arrangements, and staging completely free of charge. For example, the North Reading High School's junior prom students and staff come to us each year with a theme, and we bring it to life. We've done Enchanted Forest, Starry Nights, and this year Rapunzel. These are events that would normally cost over $24,000, well beyond the school budget, but we make it happen because we believe in giving back. We cover these costs ourselves and still pay commission on the gross sales, even when we're not profiting. But to us, it's okay. Not everything in life is about making money. Giving back to the community that welcomed us is just as important. It is also important to understand that the lease we operate under, including our rental and commission rates, was not negotiated by us. It was handed to us by Hillview commissioners based on the same term given to previous operators. Another point of clarification, our understanding is that Hillview Commission manages both the golf course and the function facility. Revenue from both does not go to Town Hall. It stays within the Hillview Commission and is reinvested into town recreation programs. So the cost of fixing the roof would come from Hillview funds. Not the town general's budget. In simple terms, simply, Hillview would be fixing Hillview. The roof has been leaking long before we arrived. It's unfortunate it wasn't repaired years ago when the cost could have been significantly lower, but delaying further will only make it worse. If this building is torn down, you won't have a function facility anymore. What's being proposed is $1 million demolition, followed by another $1 million to build a small office and a snack shop for the golfers, which only houses 25% of the town residents from North Reading. Something that will never generate this will never generate the same income or the community values as the current facility does. Right now, the commission already operates their office in our building rent-free. An office we heat, light, and maintain at our expenses, which we have no problems with. We've also paid for the lighting in the parking lot, which is used for both our events and the golfers. To say that we pay $3,500 is not the full picture. Just in the month of May, they will receive a payment for over $13,000 between the commission, rent, and utilities. There was a comment made that we mostly use this place for storage. It's not true. We store the decoration that is needed in order to conduct our business. We also ensure every square footage of that building. In our lease contract, the commissioners added a 9-month lease termination notice. They told us that was there because of previous operators not making their monthly payments, but that is not the case with our company. They said if you vote yes on demolition, they will give us the 9 months termination. If they give us the 9 months termination, that would be awful, as we have many scheduled events next year, including your North Reading junior prom in the beginning of the year. We asked the residents of the North Reading to help us preserve this special place, not just for us, but for the town, for the future events, and for the memories yet to be made. Thank you.
So, my name is Adilson Santos. This is a small family business that me and Fabiana has been operating for quite some time. We probably have met many of you guys at some events. As she said, we've hosted many town events over there. For those who don't know us, you're welcome to come by the hall and see what we've done with the place. Basically, what we're asking you guys is, if you haven't seen what it looks like today or what it could be, we ask you to at least not vote yes to demolition today. At least give it some time to give the town an ability to reconsider possible ways of saving the building. The building has been there long before we got here, and we hope that it stays there long after we leave.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Deb Picciuto, 26 Lindor Road.
I have sort of commentary. First, I'm really concerned that this represents some kind of long-term deferred maintenance that wasn't addressed. And I'll just leave that there and I'll follow up with, it is unfortunate that North Reading does not participate in the Community Preservation Act. It's a vote that was taken in this town at a time in the past, and now this is a circumstance where it's coming to roost, where the Community Preservation Act in Massachusetts provides for resources to maintain structures that are integral to the community. And if the town had voted for this, it's all over the bridge and down the river, it's all done and gone, but it would have been something that this would have been able to be preserved with Community Preservation Act monies. So maybe I'll take that up to all of these boards in the future to bring in front of the town the opportunity to participate in the Community Preservation Act in Massachusetts to prevent something this horrible in the future. Thanks.
And
Wendy Emerson, 73 Burroughs Road. I motion to move the question.
Move the question. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No.
Click. Let's use the clicker.
We'll do it with the clickers. Move to the question, yes or no. We're doing it with the clickers.
Oh. There is a head. Is your question quick? Yes. Okay. Too quick.
We'll see. I may not be able to spit.
Close the voting.
Hey, all right. Keep talking. You want to go first?
Yeah. Thomas Parker, 318 Havel Street. Yes, I'm a lifelong resident of North Reading, but I'm not a golfer. But I have enjoyed the facility over the years. And I think what we saw in the warrant, and like many of us, it caught us all by surprise. We had no idea that the idea of demolishing the entire facility was now suddenly a question. I think, personally, I really think this needs more study and thought and community input. This has served the community well in its restaurant and function facilities, as well as the question would be, when people come to play golf, they expect some kind of a facility, at least restrooms or a possibility of a pub or a place to have a drink or a sandwich or even a meal. I think, unfortunately, the demolition of the complete facility leaves us with kind of nothing to really offer. And I think once you've flattened everything, you would have to practically start from ground zero. I think this needs more study. It may be that the answer will be that you need to demolish the complex. But I think there are options in keeping portions of the building and perhaps using the original federal building as a combined pub, an upstairs office, and restaurant. and other facilities would be an option in the future. But I think we're all feel that we've suddenly come to a decision that we're asked to immediately make a judgment upon without further study. Thank you.
Jack Southard, 10 Winterberry Lane. I see this community project 2028. Is this community project specifically in this same location at Hillview where this is being demolished, or is this a North Reading general project?
It would be a North Reading general project.
Okay. Has there been any communication or thoughts about exactly what he just said, putting a restaurant and facility in this exact same spot after the cart barn? I am a golfer. I am there. I have thought nothing more of having a beer and looking out over the course after this is said and done. I support the cart barn. I support the offices. I just really hope that they are considering a restaurant and a function space to put these people back in place after this temporary demolition has been done. And I hope there's, again, a future plan to bring more revenue. It looks like they're bringing a lot of revenue to town. It seems like a waste of time and money to not bring this revenue back into town after the 2 or 3 year hiatus that this has been demolished and another restaurant or function space has been put into town. I don't see why we can't build a 2-story whatever to build this for everyone. Has that been discussed in the future plans? Thank you very much.
There have been consideration to enhancing all the amenities of the golf course, including a food and beverage operation. We don't have anything committed to that, but that certainly makes a lot of sense. The commission's objective is to optimize the health of the enterprise. That means that we want to improve the golden goose, which is the golf course, which is what generates the cash and the money that we can use for our purposes. So yes is the short answer to your question. We want to have some amenities that improve the golf course and the golfing experience so that we remain competitive with other golf courses, right? And we continue to generate revenue. This building, if we defer this, is not going away. This building is going to require some massive improvement. It does not meet code and standard. If we put the roof on to stop the leaks, that's a Band-Aid. That's the easy answer. That's where we started in our process. When we got into that process and we realized that when we open up this building and we bond and we spend the money, the enterprise's money of $2.3 million, we've just begun the project. It's very possible that once we open up that building, if it's over 30% of the value, we may trigger the obligation to then upgrade the rest of that building. And if we have to do that, I'm here to tell you on basic math that the enterprise's cash flow cannot bond the amount of money that's required to bring that structure that everybody's so enamored with, because it is a big part of the town and its profile, and we've all had events there. But I'm telling you that this building does not go away, and what we're being asked to do and improve it or put a Band-Aid on it is to subsidize a private business. And that part doesn't crush me, but what does crush me is the jeopardy that would put on the enterprise, because then the building would become the responsibility of the taxpayer, and we would no longer be able to independently fund the enterprise or any of the amenities that we set out to do that some very forward people thought about back in 1988 when they avoided the development of that property into houses, took it into the enterprise for the benefit of this community, and we will have squandered that enterprise. So I want to be very clear about that. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but that building's not going away, and the condition does not improve with the passage of time.
No, I supported you 100%. I support tearing it down. I just kind of wanted to
Whoa,
promise.
whoa, whoa.
Oh, sorry.
You can't, it's not a dialogue. And actually, there's two people over there that already spoke, and I didn't even know they were speaking. And I said, who's that? So please wait till you got recognition from the moderator to speak. All right? It's your turn.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to call the building inspector to say some words, if he would be willing, on the condition of the building.
I called on this woman, I called on her to speak. It's her turn to speak.
Well, Nancy Wolf, 4 Sandsper Lane. I might make this easy. I make a motion to actually postpone this. I think that this is has a lot more to it than we kind of all realized. I appreciate the fact that this building is not in good condition, but I also appreciate the fact that there is some revenue stream to this. And as someone who doesn't golf but does like beer, it'd be nice if you had a place that we could stay in town and do and meet up and you know participate in. So I think a motion to postpone this, have a little more conversation, a little bit more understanding would probably be a good thing, particularly since it's almost 11. Thank you.
Mr. Stack.
Am I on?
What?
Does this work?
You'd need to write a motion.
Okay.
Yeah. She needs help, though. George.
Yes.
Stack.
Can you hear me? Okay. My name's George Stack, 11 Swan Pond Road in North Reading. I'm an original member of the Hillview Commission. Prior to that, the Hillview Study Committee in 1987, 86 and 87. We met in 88. Eventually, we studied it for over a year, going up to the old, what is now the library, was the old junkie town hall. The birds used to fly in from the top. I was the last one here to
I need the motion in writing.
So I have two simple things to say. When I came here tonight, there were probably 900 people. And how many have left? And then I ask anybody here that ever came to the Hillview for dinner, a drink, a get-together, to raise your hand. Because I've been there for 39 years, and I know what's happened. It's a facade, and that's all it is. Inside, there was nothing. Nobody came. Nobody came. I was the one who, at the beginning, until probably 3 weeks ago, always thought someone would walk through that building and set up an organization that would draw people in. Nobody came. That's why we're here tonight. The building, we've had three people run the building. The first one was a fellow named Burton Page. He owned the Hilton and Colonial Golf Course, which is now Marketplace in Linfield. And his family sold the business, and he was looking for a place to go, and he brought 300 people with him every Thursday night that come for a dance. And then they started to die off. It's as simple as that. And probably the last 3 years of his stewardship, the building he had nothing. The concept of weddings has changed. I mean, when kids come to you and tell you they're going to Belize for their wedding, and they're going to get married in, a knee full of water, things have changed. Things have really changed. Kids fly to Las Vegas for bachelor parties, and the world has changed. And it took me a long time to change with it. I really did believe it would work. But it hasn't. And I am very fond of Fabiana and Adilson. I held their hand through their first year, going through all the things that you have to do working with the municipal government. They weren't used to that. And they had to be told no on certain things, and the fire department came in, and we did all kinds of stuff. I really thought that would work, but it hasn't. They have a nice little niche in their business, but the downstairs has never been open. And I have to be honest with you, I have never received a plan about what to do with the downstairs. So I always tell people, it's your choice. It's your money. It's not my money. The turf field took 7 years of this dedicated group of people coming to us, asking us to do a turf field, and we said no. We were approached to do a big park up at Swan Pond. I live on Swan Pond at the bottom. It's 2.5 miles up to the top. We said no. There's a thing called I forget the walkway, and we said no. So if you're going to continue and you want to make an intelligent decision, you'll listen to somebody that's had 39 years of experience in that building and really believed it would work. But none of you came. I can't say it any other way. It's a nice thing to think, oh, it's wonderful, we'll do this and we do that, but none of you came. That's the problem. Nobody came to support Burton Page. Nobody came to support his dinners. Nobody came to support. The only thing they supported was Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. And that's what you can think of with the Hillview. Beyond that, the building has to come down. Okay? Thank you.
So there was a point of order because she did, Nancy Wolf, when she was at the microphone, she did put forth the motion. She gave it to me in writing and signed it, and it was, she moved to postpone further action on Article 21 until October 2025 annual town meeting.
On the motion to postpone. On the motion to postpone, the Board of Selectmen unanimously recommends.
The Board of Selectmen unanimously recommend. This motion takes precedence over the earlier motion. Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends holding off until October.
Okay. Mr. Studo.
Just real quick on this. So no matter how the town decides in October, one thing to consider, if we do keep it, we have to do it right. It cannot be, I don't like what the contractor says, I don't like this says. Here's why. Whether or not we move, so let's say we keep it and we keep putting money into it. If we then deny a request from Hillview Commission to do it and something happens there, we are liable. So everyone needs to think about that because it's all happy talk until we get sued. So just something to consider that I'm fine. There's a lot of things here I would pay for, but I know there's a lot of people that, you know, it's kind of like the survey says this and then they do that. It's all fun and games and everybody's willing to put any money to save Hillview for whatever reason until we have to pony up. And this will cause liability. And you can ask the building inspector some other point when there's more time, but if there is a request made to repair and we decide to keep it and we say no and then something happens and it was recorded that we said no, we will lose. And then it will cost more. So that's all I just want to point out. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion?
Lou DeFranzo, 2 Lady Slipper. I just want to say that pushing this down to October is not going to change the facts. There are no unknown facts here. I don't understand why we would take the risk and why we would put the Hillview enterprise at further risk and the town at risk when the costs of what we're proposing, which is inevitable, are only going to escalate.
Adam Stahl, 279 Haverhill Street. Many of us came here tonight because we were worried about the school budget. We're worried about the town's finances over the next 5 years. We saw the slide projected about how rising costs are going to outstrip revenues by a significant amount. And I don't know why we're trying to hold this over when the experts in the room have told us, in their opinion, what they believe is the best course of action. Thank you.
Further discussion? The motion on the floor is to postpone to October. We ready to vote on that? We'll use the clickers. Open. We'll close it. Oh. Hmm?
Now you're back to the main
Motion failed. We're back to the main motion. Motion failed. We're back to the main motion. Mr. Hall.
Hi, my name is Mark Hall. I live at 286 Park Street, North Reading. And I grew up here. I was born here in North Reading, and I've been a...
Closer to the microphone, Mark.
Can you hear me now?
The other one.
Yeah, the other.
This one?
That's,
Okay.
there you go.
So, anyway, I've been working on old houses all my life, literally. Well, not yet, but...
You're still with us.
Yeah. I thought about this long and hard after I found out about it. I've been thinking about it day in and day out. I haven't made a decision until basically this morning which way I felt I was going to go. I hate to take down an old house. I've restored so many of them. And with care, that sometimes you don't get paid to do that extra hand plane aboard to make it look authentic and things like that. But one thing's for sure, this building is a candidate to come down, in my opinion. The rear wall is missing to accommodate the hall and inside, foundation below that. It's 2,700 square feet roughly with the 2 floors. To squeeze in sprinkler system, maybe ADA, fire alarm system, the cost of it, and to squeeze all that crap into a small little 5 pounds bag, 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag, it's not going to have any space left. You might think you have 2,700 square feet, and what are you going to do with 2,700 square feet of 2 offices? Like, the numbers don't work, it doesn't make any sense, and it would cost so much to restore it, especially with the prevailing wage and the insurances and all that to go with it. I have to say it's not worth it, in my opinion. It's termites holding hands, basically, right now. And it's some of the rafters upstairs up in the attic are pretty good, but for the most part, it's whatever you touch is going to be a surprise. It has to be gutted on the inside and the outside after you demo the rest of the restaurant and structures the other way. So I'm all for historical looking houses in North Reading. I live in one. I've restored plenty of them. I replicate old buildings like Raya Store is supposed to look like an 1884 building, and I think it does. But I can't say I could go along with keeping this building, and I'm sorry the tenants are having a hard time, but we're talking about the demo right now. So.
Kathy Sumner, 53 Swamp Pond Road. What about the house? Can we save the house? The historical part?
Building inspector.
No?
Building inspector.
Hello? Yep.
Hello.
Hello, Jerry Noel, North Reading Building Commissioner. What Mark was just talking about over there was the house. The
Oh,
house
it
is
was the
basically
house.
termites
That was the
holding
house
hands.
part?
It's terrible.
All right.
It can't be saved. It can't. The building itself, once you do 30% of the work there, you need to comply. Now you need to comply 100%. So now you're looking at handicap accessibility. Now you're putting an elevator in there. So it's not just a small little bit of renovation. I think it's being undervalued when he's saying $7.5 million. I think it's closer to $10 million. So think about it. You're already in a deficit.
Right. All right. And my second question is, these guys signed a lease with the town, right?
That's for legal, not me.
For, with the Hillview.
I feel bad for them. I truly
No,
do.
I know.
Yeah.
But do they get compensated for signing that lease?
That's for legal.
Mr. Moderator, can I
Or do they
address
just
that?
get thrown out?
Can I address that, please?
Yes, please.
Ultra Chic and the commission entered into a license agreement, first of all. It's not a lease.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay,
Just explaining the facts.
that's okay.
Okay. Contrary to what was, I think, stated factually, we entered into that license agreement with Ultra Chic in 2022. There was for a 5-year term, subject to a bilateral right for each party to terminate that license on 9 months' notice. Okay? So that's what the contract provides, that
Okay.
either party could get out. That was bargained for, that was known, that was discussed,
Okay.
and I think you have to run your business accordingly. So nobody's trying to run any hardship on Ultra Chic. That's not the objective here. Again, we can't subsidize a private business. We have to worry about, as fiduciaries in the commission, the health of the enterprise. And we don't want to see the enterprise ever become a taxpayer obligation. Since 1988, when the golf course was taken, the enterprise has been a self-sufficient operation that has funded 3 major community projects. The taking of the Hillview
Right.
property, the Ipswich River Park,
Right.
the turf field. That's what the enterprise is aimed to do. We're not in business to run an events business or a function facility. As Mr. Stack said earlier,
Right.
those days have passed when we had a facility that was accretive to the Hillview Commission. Not only is it not accretive to us, the license fees that we would need to collect in order to pay for just the roof would have to go up 8 to 10 times what we currently collect from our licensee, okay? That's not gonna change between now and October. And as you just heard from the building inspector, once we do a repair that's more than 30% of the value, you're looking at conservatively.
Oh, I know that, yeah.
$7.5 to $8 million. The Hillview Commission and the enterprise cannot bond. That's beyond our bonding capacity. We would not be able to service that debt. That obligation will fall on the taxpayer if the building stands. And that's not going to change.
All right. And there's no houses going up there if this comes down, correct?
There is no plan. If you're talking about restoring the historic home,
No, I mean like multiple houses.
no,
All right.
it will be
All
open
right.
space. It will be open space.
Ma'am.
Bonnie Spicer, 13 Swan Pond Road. I'd just like to say when I moved into town 23 years ago, I'd always lived in much bigger communities. And one of the things I thought was really cool was how you would manage to get the golf course and how you would manage to take care of everyone. And I also watched, and a lot of memories were made in that building. But also, since I've been in town, or about that time, Ipswich River Park came into being, and a lot of new memories are made there. And I think that we need to, in this case, say goodbye to a really cool place that a lot of really good memories were made. and create more like we did with the Ipswich River Park. That's all. Thank you.
Hi, Dan Mabor, 3 Gloria Lane. I think that, for a lot of us that are hearing about this for the first time or that are, hearing, this is clearly very emotional. And I liken it to discovering a terminal illness in a loved one. This is a part of our family, a part of our community, but we're hearing from the doctors, we're hearing from the surgeons who, whether it's the historical society that we would expect to step in and say, by all means, everything that we can possibly do. I feel like a lot of us are going through in real time stages of denial and bargaining and what can we do to try and make this work. And the unfortunate truth might be just it's time to let go. And we're here making very, very challenging decisions about teachers that may need to be cut and activities that may need to be removed from our schools and the strains and challenges that'll present to our children and our students and what the future of North Reading looks like. And I think as sad as it is to see a loved one go, it may be time to recognize that we're just past the point of being able to save it. So, thank you for the time.
Hi, good evening. I'm Karen Moberg, 16 Hill Street. I'm also coincidentally the operations manager at Hillview. I'm literally the little girl with her finger in the dam. I'm the one that when a new roof leak spikes gets the phone call. I'm the one that's calling the contractors. I'm the one that's dealing with this day in and day out. I can tell you without a doubt that at this time last year, the commission was fully on board with replacing the roof and moving forward and putting the money back into the building. As we started to gain more and more information, working with our contractors, working with our project manager, bringing structural engineers into the building, the more information we gained, the more we learned what was really underneath the onion of the building. The roof would just be a very quick fix. It's putting a Band-Aid on it. That's the $2.5 million that we asked you for last year. If we move, as the building inspector and Lou also mentioned, if we start to move forward with that project, then we're opening up a new can of worms because 30% of that work being done is going to tick us into ADA compliance and other restoration of the building. Our consultants have given us a quote of approximately $7 to $8.5 million to fully bring that building up to code, and to be quite frank, the commission doesn't have it. The commission has a bonding capacity of about $3.5 million. That's all they have to either put back into the golf course or to put back into repairs on a roof, or for a community project like Ipswich River Park. If the enterprise is forced to put the roof on the building and then continuously reinvest in that building, there's at least 10 years where no projects and no enterprise funds will go to anything in the town. And again, I was one of the last holdouts as well. I love Fabiana and Adilson, they're great people. They did 31 events last year. 8 of those events were community-based, but it's not enough to keep that building viable. So, thank you.
Jean Heidi, 247 Haverhill Street. Can we move to the motion?
Oh, we use the clickers for this? We're just going to go to the vote. All right. On the move to the motion, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So now we'll go to the clickers. This is the original motion that was presented. It's authorizing the demolition of the building. Open it, yeah. The motion passed. It was two-thirds.
Mr. Moderator, if I could ask people that, we've only got about 9 or 10 more articles to go, and we believe there's nothing of any substance, or well, a lot of substance, but nothing of any controversy. We believe we can finish them up this evening very quickly. So if you could stay with us, we'd appreciate it. With that, Mr. Moderator, Article 22, rescind authorization to borrow. I move to pass over Article 22 as printed in the warrant.
Point of order. Point of order. Pat Fillmore, 24 Fieldcrest Terrace. Town bylaw says no new article is to be picked up after 11 o'clock at night.
I was getting ready to.
I don't think that's true. Not true. Bylaw doesn't exist anymore, right? The bylaw was changed.
Hi, good night. I'll see you probably Wednesday. I don't think I'm going to be around tomorrow. I'm going home to take a nap. If they say that they're going to carry on.
Doesn't exist.
Town bylaw.
Please hang tight.
I don't have it here. I'm being told it doesn't exist.
So we're going to change the bylaws because,
It was already changed about 8 years ago.
Stephen, we could never do an article after 11 o'clock at night. So don't say it's been changed years ago.
Mr. Moderator?
It's true. I mean, I've been.
I know, you need to get him to recognize me. John.
John, can you answer that?
Darren Klein, KP Law, good evening, through the moderator. That bylaw was amended, and the similar charter provision were amended. I don't know the exact date, but I want to say it was about 5 to 7 years
Must have been when I was a baby or underage, because I don't ever remember that in all the years that I've attended town meeting.
Well, I will not argue.
The old one, though.
You may have been a baby, but it was 5 to 7 years ago. Yeah. That bylaw was changed a while back. It changed both the Monday and Thursday night requirements as well as...
They changed that last year, but not the 11.
As well as the 7 to 11 p.m. requirements.
I've been standing at that podium.
Yes, I know. I mean, we came back last year on Tuesday because...
No, I understand.
go past 11
I'm
o'clock.
telling you, the bylaw was changed several years ago.
Mr. Moderator, I've got to pull back my motion that I made under Article 22 was the improper one. Article 22, rescind authorization to borrow. I move to rescind bonding authorized for Hillview function, facility roof repair and/or replacement authorized by Article 24 of the June 10th, 2024 spring annual town meeting, and amended by the Article 9 of Article 7 of October 7th, 2024 fall annual town meeting in the amount of $2,448,147. That's it. So I move to rescind.
We have the motion, recommendation, Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
Finance
Finance Committee recommends.
And again,
Further discussion.
And this is just to rescind the authorization to fix the roof. No sense in spending $2.4 million if you're going to demolish the building.
All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Article
Article 23.
Article 23, appropriate or transfer funds to the other post-employment benefits liability trust. I move to raise and appropriate the amount of $425,000 to be transferred to the other post-employment benefits liability trust fund, as specified in Article 23, as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Select Board?
Select Board recommends unanimously.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article 24.
Article 24, I move to appropriate from overlay reserve the amount of $150,000 for fiscal year 2027 revaluation, as specified in Article 24, as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
Finance Committee.
Select Board, I'm sorry, Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article 25.
Article 25, I move to appropriate from free cash the amount of $200,000 for the purpose of funding fiscal year 2026 retirement obligations for town employees, including municipal and school employee, as specified in Article 25, as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Mr. Bessie.
Mr. Moderator, Article 26, fiscal year 2026 Fund Town Building Repairs. I move to appropriate from free cash the amount of $50,000 for repairs and improvements to municipal buildings, including all costs incidental and related thereto, as specified in Article 26, as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 27.
Mr. Moderator, prior year bills, Article 27. I move to pass over Article 27 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation for Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends passing it over. There aren't any party.
I apologize, Mr. Moderator. I meant to say passing over as well.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 28.
Mr. Moderator, Article 28, authorize treasurer to enter into compensating balance agreements. I move to authorize the treasurer to enter into compensating balance agreements on behalf of the town, as specified in Article 28, as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
Select Board unanimously recommends.
From Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Moderator, Article 29.
29.
Article 29, accept Mass General Law, Chapter 200A, Section 9A, tax title for foreclosure procedure. I move to approve Article 29 as printed in the warrant.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
The Select Board recommended by unanimous vote.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 30.
Mr. Moderator, Article 30, select town officers. I move to authorize the Select Board to choose all necessary town officers not elected by ballot and to determine what instructions shall be given.
Recommendation for the Select Board.
The Select Board recommends by unanimous vote.
Finance Committee. No action.
Finance Committee, no action required.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 31.
Article 31, hear and act on reports of town officers and committees. I move to accept the printed town report for the calendar year 2024 as the report of town officers and committees.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
The Select Board recommends by unanimous vote.
No action required.
No action required. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Moderator, before we adjourn, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge, again, all the work that was put in by, again, my colleagues on the Select Board, Planning Commission, Finance Committee, School Committee, Administration, all the employees here, to present to you our budget and our recommendations, all of these articles that were before you. And I also thank you all very much for participating this evening, coming out and taking care of the town's business. With that, Mr. Moderator, I move to adjourn sine die.
No further discussion. Who's in favor?